Zippers. Yes. Hey, tea sippers. Baby, when I tell you that did it, he did it. Ain't that ain't that the name of 50 Cent? I don't mean that man is something else. Hey Cynthia. Hey. Ooh, Lord, Lord, Lord. Y'all y'all do know he going up under the prison. Y'all do know he going to prison. AunTeaFee, why your eyes keep getting big? Cause he going to prison. He sealed his own fate. He left all time. You know, it's always the ones who try to outsmart everybody. Think he had. Did he record himself after he realized that them, what they call them, Homeland Security, had been knocking on folk doors? Hey, Willie Spencer. Hey, Cynthia. Y'all come on in and hit the like button. I'm a sure try not to be here long tonight. Y'all ain't been hitting my like button, baby. The support has dwindled, and I can't handle that. Child. Woo. Ooh, y'all got a pop, didn't you? Hell, I got more likes and stuff on the ride in LA. Yeah, I can't handle that, baby. But anyway, that did he record himself after he realized that the Homeland Security folk have been knocking on folk doors and leaving them little cards? You know, we've been here and we need to hear from you. And did they play his own recordings on him today? Did he put hand, feet, toes, and elbows and stuff on this chick too? I think he really mishandled her more roughly. I mean, with the SCX, triple X trafficking stuff. Cost of 50. I don't know why I feel like that. Cause he knew who her baby daddy was, and he already had this love-hate relationship with him. He was like, oh, okay, I'ma really dog you out. I'ma really love bomb you. Yeah, you got them big old badaka box. Yeah. And then I heard him say, show me them teeth I paid for. Ooh, baby, AunTeaFee, AunTeaFee. I learned early, baby, that sometimes them gifts from them brothers just really are really not just gifts. He has he is really a messed up bad boy. Oh yeah, he's a psycho. He's mentally off. He really off. He really off. See, this is why you cannot play with the devil. I'm just really, really serious when I say that. Because you never know how far he gonna take you. And then he's gonna have you so deeply pulled in until when you realize it, you too far gone and you don't know how to get back out. It's dark. All the lights are off. It's pitch dark, baby, and you don't know where to go, what direction to turn to get that ass up out of there. And I don't know if you don't know, cause I heard you playing on your recording saying something about you need to call on God or call you. should have been calling on the name of Jesus. I bet you calling on him now. What I used to say, if ever you needed the Lord before, sure do need him now. However, yeah, you need him. You need him. You needed him long time ago, but you was too arrogant to see that. You know why? Because you thought you was God. You thought you was God all by yourself, and you didn't need nobody help because your money long. That's what you thought. You thought you can pay off anything. Did I hear you on a recording saying how much? Tell me, what's the number? How much do you need to make this all go away? Was you trying to preach a sermon? To make it disappear? It's still there? It's still there. It's still there. You heard it today. And it's sad. Ooh, I tell you, I saw this chick on IG. Oh my goodness. Ooh. It is so sad to for people to still fall for the banana in the tailpipe and think it's just about, they thought they was this and they thought that was that. Girl, somebody would have chose you. You'd have been right up in that number 2. But you just wasn't chosen. Yeah. You can always tell when somebody ain't never been the pick of a damn litter. Because they always got something negative to say underneath what you really saying. Yeah. And now, should they have chosen their route? No. No. But just because they chose it and made a mistake in choosing it, I'm not going to act like that's what they get. No, I'm never going to say that. That don't mean that I'm not going to see a predator for what a predator is. Don't none of that erase the fact of the matter. They were still groomed, still lied to and manipulated. So, I mean, a bad choice, bad mistakes ain't going to make me erase facts. Ain't everybody on God's green earth needs to be subject to this mess if that's the case. But no, and I can't stand to see women, especially women. Well, they pay. They asked for that. They weren't saying that when they was listen. I am willing to bet you any amount of money. When they signed up for it, when they got their body worked on, when they wanted to be chosen, wanted to have that look of appeal to attract a baller. It was just to be they dime piece, they arm candy for that man. That's it. I don't know not now woman want to be chosen, right? And then somebody flip the script and pipping you to escorts. That person wanted to be that man or woman's pleasure, not no strangers. That is not what they signed up for. And ain't nothing nobody gonna say that's gonna make me believe that. Now, I ain't saying that there's not no O's already out there that has a O-ish mentality, because there are some. There are some who mama groomed them to be O's because the mama was an O. I ain't gonna act like that don't exist. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oh, yeah. Baby AunTeaFee done seen it all. There's some mothers out there who was old, who was selling themselves. And that's what their daughters and son was raised up in sin, hell, and they was groomed by their mama or daddy. I've seen that too. Hey, Joanne. So, but I'm still not going to say that's what they get. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And I'm at the point now, I'm not going to even say that this is what Diddy get. I'm going to just say at this point, it was time for him to come down off of his throne and be exposed. Because not only did he do this manipulative stuff with these females, because see, that's all that has come out thus far on this case. Did you hear me with your good ear? Yeah, I got my on this case. Did you hear me with your good ear? On this case. Y'all think this the only legal trouble this man is in? He has hundreds of lawsuits against him. And if his money froze, he can't settle on all of them. He can't pay them all off, can he? If his money froze. Oh, and if he do, Lord, if he do, then that means that he got some secret accounts in other people's names. And that's all the feds need to see. See? That's all the I, the R, and the S need to see. See? If he don't realize they setting that ass up, who ain't got my fan? Setting that ass up, say what? Oh, they setting that ass up. Yeah, they setting him up. Yeah. It's time for him to come down because, again, like I was about to say, it ain't just females he done played the games with. He done this switchy stuff with men. Yeah. He done drugged men. Did I hear him say that after he kicked in doors, 2 or 3 of them, that he forced them pills down her mouth so that she could do a freak out with black eyes and knots all up on her head? And y'all think that somebody deserve that? That's what they get. Because they was chosen and led to believe they was in a relationship with this clown. Every last one of them thought that they was in a relationship. He love bombed their ass real good for 5 whole days. They thought they really had a love connection. And now it's like they on crack, trying to get back to the time when he was doing all that love bombing. Ain't that ironic that that was the only time that he really put that little old thing down? Because they all say in the beginning, ooh, they made passionate, in the beginning. That's all he could stomach. That's all he could stomach. Y'all feel me? That's all he could stomach was about a week. Because that ain't what he wanted to be in. Y'all ain't figured that out yet. I heard her call him a PDF file. PDF file. Because somebody was 25 years younger than him. Yeah, but baby, that ain't the only word. Did Ava pop back up again? So, I mean, I got so many people saying, thank you for bringing up Ava. Thank you. Yeah, I've been hollering Ava. I've been hollering Ava. Where she at? Where she at? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he been there. Yeah, he only could love him down for a week, baby. He was ready to get to. When you talk about, I want to spend time with you. Oh my God, that blows my mind. When these females are crying about wanting to spend time with you. I want to be with you. The only way I can spend time with you is for you to say, we gonna hang. We gonna celebrate my birthday. My birthday treat is for you to watch me screw 3-4 different dudes. Hell, that present ain't for me. What? What? How you getting a treat off my birthday? Hell you mean? Where they do that shit at? What? Huh? Yeah, that baby. And it's so twisted. See, he really does have it kind of mixed all up until it can get a little confusing. Because I heard somebody say, well, he didn't profit. How is he pimping these O's if he ain't making no money off of them? He don't want no money because he don't need no money. He just get pleasure. See, he getting pleasure out of degrading the woman. See, this is why when these people be going back and forth on YouTube and stuff, and I have a problem with these men calling women all out their name. Don't call me out my name. I don't care if it's a skit. I don't care if it's none of that type stuff. Because see, me, I feel like that's how you really feel about women on the inside. And see, I'm going to start going to the root of you. And then I'm going to lift up your rug. Yeah, you're going to want to figure out how I know what went on in your house. And I wasn't there. Yeah, I'm going to get to the root of your hate for women and your love for men. That's why it was easy for me to pick what was wrong with Diddy. He ain't like these women. He don't like women. And the one woman he say he loves, she was a... Oh, I can't say that. I can't call his mama one. How he feel about women is how he feel about his mama. Oh, I can't say that? Really? Really? Oh, yeah, I'm going to say that. How he feel about women deep down on the inside is how he feel about his mama. Now, what he saw to make him feel like that about his mama, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you what I do know. It's deep-rooted. Okay? Okay? Just like my brothers. My brothers. Oh, baby, they knew that they couldn't put their hands on females. They knew that. Mama would say, boy, y'all got 4 sisters. Do you, and a mama, do you want somebody to put their hands on them? No, ma'am. Then don't you put your hands on nobody. But I remember a girl when my brother was, I think he was in high school, and I think the girl was pregnant. I don't know. You know, because I had some good-looking brothers. Okay. And this girl, I remember being in the car, and my mama was talking to this girl, and she, I don't know if she slapped him or whatever, but my mama said, did you put your hands on my son? You can't do that. You can't do that. If he can't put his hands on you, you can't put your hands on him. Because see, if you come tell me my son put his hands on you and you didn't put your hands on him, I'm going to put my hands on him. And I know he don't want my hands on him. But what I can't do is let you put your hands on my son. Now, he got 4 sisters. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you now, I remember her name. I remember her name. I remember her name. That was a long time ago. My brother went to Carter. Baby, look, but anyway, I remember this. Well, you can't put your hands on him because he can't put his hands on you. And my point to this is my brother respected my mama enough. He loved my mama enough that he honored that throughout his life. Now, I ain't saying he perfect. I ain't saying my mama perfect. I'm just saying that my brother loved my mama enough to honor that respect. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. How Diddy is deeply rooted. And how he feel about women, that's how he feel about his mama. Okay, y'all, let me go on because there's a lot happened today. Some videos. She testified. And this man still paying. He paid for her attorney. He really thought that this girl wasn't going to ever testify against him. That's why he was still paying her rent. Then we find out today, not only was he paying her rent, he was paying for her lawyer. Why is Diddy paying for her lawyer? Y'all, it's 300 and some people in here. If y'all don't hit the like button, you gonna get a hold of me all day. Why is he paying her lawyer? Effectively. Now, today in court, he still was. I'm sure all of that is about to change. He still thought he had a fool. Just like he didn't think Cassie was gonna ever flip that script on that ass. And if KK smart, if she's smart, she better flip on that ass too. Cause what he's expecting is a female. What he don't like, what he don't respect. Yeah, say it with me. Y'all, what he expecting for a female to do? It's take that bid for him. Lie. Become a defense witness on his behalf. Speak highly of him. Say all these females lying. KK over there right now doctoring up some paperwork to try to mislead, to try to throw the jewelry off. Ooh, and baby, what I heard today, old girl, Elizabeth, them thought that the sidebar this morning was going to be about one of them witnesses, one of them jurors. I wonder, is that the juror that he kept doing signals to, the one that had that not guilty bracelet on? Hey, Lottie Dottie, she liked the party. I'm just playing. Hey, Lottie. Yeah, they was expecting for that sidebar to be about one of them jurors. I tried to tell Big Pressure they got their eyes on him and that female juror. So when I saw that, y'all know my good ear said, beep, beep. That bionic ear of mine. It said, beep, beep. They ready for him. They gonna jam that ass. They gonna hem him. I'm trying to tell y'all. They sitting in the cut waiting on them. Them feds got their eye on whoever that juror is. Ain't paying attention. Falling asleep, rolling their eyes, watching him. She done been paid. Or they think she have. And now, cause he can't turn back and look at her, Yeah. But anyway, what else did I hear today? Y'all ready to hear? Y'all need to get my likes up. Y'all need to support the platform properly. Like, share, subscribe, join the membership, support the platforms. You can send a super chat, super sticker, cash app, or the little box down there at the bottom where you can send some jewels. It don't matter to me, but y'all got to get my likes up. Because I know I ain't going to act right. What else I hear? Oh, and I don't know why Elon playing with Trumpty Dump. Because them pictures of him that came out with Epstein with a little girl. I said, Lord. Now, we already knew that from a long time ago that he was playing with them little girls. Because he used to have his daughter Ivanka on his lap and shit. You know, like uncle. Popping you up and down and playing with you on the cool. Y'all remember that? Well, honey, they done pulled out them old pictures of him and Epstein and that Lane lady. That Elon Musk. Is it Musk? Musk. He ain't playing fair. He ain't playing fair. He causing raising a little doubt with him too. Okay? And he done deployed them troops. They should have sent some of them over to Memphis. Yeah. They need to send at least 500 of them on over to Memphis. Y'all ready to go? Let me see what type of screen I'm going to put up on y'all today. Do I need to do this one? Y'all ready to go and get in? I may need to put myself back down. I get with them pretty brown eyes. Y'all ready to go in? Can y'all hit the like button? Yeah, Diddy out of here, y'all. Rightfully so. And what he gonna do with his kids? Well, Kimora got his daughters, but hell, she was a teen. She was groomed by Russell Simmons. She was what, 14, 15 years old? Her daughter, I was finna call her. One of her oldest daughter, her boyfriend, what, 50, 60 years old? What we doing? So are they safe with Kimora? Kimora and Kim was cool, and hell, the girl Erica Kennedy, they was all cool, but she told her not to do that book. She did that book because she mysteriously came up on a live, just like Kim. Wasn't Kim doing the book? Y'all better see these patterns, and I hope that Q, and if not this lawsuit or the other one that's coming with the men. See, this is the females. The male version is coming. It's coming. I hope Q jump on it. And I hope and pray that he don't leave out who gave him that pill. So it can be the absolute reverse. Men who were taken advantage of, and a female gave him that horse pill. Someone that he trusted. Don't leave her out. Don't leave her out. She don't get no pass either. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, gets a pass with me, who have manipulated into somebody's manhood, womanhood, got violated or taken advantage of because they trusted somebody else. That's bullshit. So I have a problem with Dawn. AunTeaFee, you got a problem with her? I sure do. Just like I got a problem with Diddy mama. Hell, your ass be at the freak house. So some of the stuff that been going on, you been a part of. Yeah. I can't wait till the Hollywood version Explosion come out. That's gonna be so good. Y'all come on, let's go. I'm gonna go back in the other room so I can play what happened in court today. Y'all ready? Let's go. Let's go. They gonna cause me to start drinking, and I don't even get there like that. Oh, they about to set that ass up. Set that ass up. Set that ass up. Y'all hit the like button. Is this where I want to start? Yeah, I watched her first. So let's see what we going to... Where my stand? Where my kickstand? Where my kickstand? Where my kickstand? Come on. Can y'all still hear me? Give me a 1. I need a 1. If you can still hear me.
Defense team, you might just be preparing for a funeral procession. Today was one of the worst days we have seen in the Diddy trial, and it was for Diddy. They can't get around this. Now, you guys know I did a preview on all the violence that Jen supposedly victim took from Diddy. Okay, we're going to call her Jen and Diddy Michael. I do want to say off the top of the bat, there will be no guessing in the chat over who Jane Doe was. I don't care. I don't care if you guess, if you try to even guess. And I am saying that she is not publicly facing. You guys do not, I know everybody thinks they know, they do not know who she is. There will be no guessing. If anybody does, I will block them from my chat. Okay? Now, let's get into this. Only God, thank you for the super chat. You guys, these details were horrific.
Can y'all still hear?
It was like somebody from The Shining. He was kicking in doors. Kicking in doors, ripping apart. He was obsessed. Even when the jurors were looking at the mess he did, they were sitting there looking like, oh my God, what is going on? They were burying clothes like, what is that? They were horrified by what they saw. They showed thick, heavy doors split down the middle. Bathroom doors kicked off their hinges. He went on a rampage. Oh my God. The victim hid for 2 hours, ran out the house barefoot, and hid for 2 hours only to show up and see that mug down there. When I say he viciously, worse than Cassie. Well, I don't want to say worse because Cassie's probably been through so much that we don't know about and that she can't prove, but it happened. But when I say he viciously assaulted her, and then the last time, where do we start? Let me start with this stuff, because when I say Diddy is done, I want to hear anybody say they got the fraud, they got the coercion, they got the force, they have the sex trafficking, they have the RICO. I believe they said Paul was somebody named Paul. I don't know if he's security or not. They said somebody named, no, Paul was one of the escorts. Sorry, I was thinking Uncle Paulie. I was like, oh my God. When I say this man is insane, the level of gaslighting, the level of manipulation, the level of violence, and I don't care what anybody says, Diddy, if he's set free, is going to murk someone one day. And I don't mean on purpose. I mean accidentally. But when I'm about to go into the details of what happened, I want to get you guys, children, shh, close your eyes and imagine a world where there is a psychopath running around going crazy. And that's the world. Diddy is a psychopath. The fact that he did all this while he had a grand jury indictment going, why he knew he had an open case, and then he was still abusing and mentally abusing Jane? No. There's something seriously wrong with this person. It was giving Jack Nicholson. It was giving The Shining. It was giving evil. And he still found times to say evil things and play mind games. Tatum said, thank you for keeping us informed. Congratulations on your Nancy Grace show, too. Thank you so much. Laura Isery said, Hola, Beliza, you're very smart and a go-getter. Please continue. Oh, thank you. Please continue to be you. And Big Tiny Productions said, aloha from Honolulu. Manaloha. Love your reporting. What's up, Big Tiny Productions? Okay, let me start off by saying this. Yes, whatever you heard, I am in the courtroom. I'm going to be in the courtroom every day. Forget what you heard, baby. Right? Let's get into this, right? Anyway, let's jump into the most horrific stuff, and then we'll kind of zoom out, okay? Because let's just get right into it, okay? So Diddy, the indictment comes down, right? He's sitting up there gaslighting Jane, right? She's beside herself. He's saying, I need your friendship right now, right? I can't talk. Don't call, don't send text. Just call KK. Again, KK is getting that co-conspirator charge, whether she wants to or not. And baby, this is directly from the federal government. Rand, thank you so much. He said, he was like, but I need you. It's so effed up what's going on. I need you. Listen, and then he said, you don't have to worry about nothing, right? Now, one of the most sickest things to do is, right, Diddy called Jen and was like, yo, just charge me. And she's like, I don't want to charge. No, you charge me, just charge me. Whatever it is, charge me. He literally called her phone and harassed her 1 billion times to say for her to pick a number that he could pay her so that she would be cool with everything he did to her, right? And when I say he didn't ask once or twice, he was literally blowing up her text, screaming at her, charge me. She said, right, do you want to give me $100K a year and then pay the next 2 years of rent, right? He then flipped it on her. As soon as she said, Zuri Angel said, Tisa, all I heard is you killing it. Oh, thank you, amazing work. Listen, he flipped on her. Mind you, he had been harassing her. He had done this. You guys, I'm just starting from the beginning. It gets a lot worse, right? We're going to go through all this really quick, and then I'll go home and do the big live, right? As soon as she said, all right, and it was pennies. He literally was like, F you, don't ever text me again. F you, I'm blocking you, you're a liar, I'm calling the police. Now, one thing I do want to say is, I don't know if Diddy's a narcissist, but it's giving narcissist, because you know how narcissists, they project a lot. Like, he was secretly taping Jane, right? And he then flipped around and was like, yo, are you taping me? Because he was secretly taping her. And to think that those secretly taped calls is what made him look so bad. I was like, damn, if that's not karma, I don't know what is. Nunya B says, if the jury says not guilty, does Diddy go free immediately? I think he does. They have to appeal, but I do think he goes free immediately. There's no way the jury can say not guilty. I know. There were some people, men, who were saying, and some women, who were saying that, I don't see, okay, so what, it's fraud. We now have the violence,
Jennifer.
And we have graphic violence. And to go on your heart said, thanks, Tisa, for updating us, albeit a dark subject matter. The cute trench coat requires a law and order dance. KK is definitely a co-conspirator. I'm going to do that. Dun, dun.
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you. A tight-knit college.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. In the halls of justice. Okay, let me stop playing because this is serious matters, all right? Okay? Now, here's the thing. He then was screaming at her, you're an opportunist. You broke me. No, he was like, you're an opportunist. You're this, you're that. Jane starts fussing back, right? You broke me. You exploited my love, right? Did he start screaming? Hey, what's up? was like, so then he starts screaming, leave me alone, I'm calling the police. Hey, have a good one. Leave me alone. I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. Leave me alone. Right? However, Jane kept going, right? She literally said to him, you keep describing yourself. You con me into doing trains. Then she said she was going to murk herself, right? She said the conversation was super evil, super dark. He was bringing up all of her trauma, right? Apparently she's been abused a lot in relationships by the past. He was bringing up all her trauma, okay? Literally, she then went and talked to, hey, what's up, Mel? Get home safely. She then went and texted KK. And she was like, was screenshotting and texting KK and was like, are you seeing this? He called me and he asked me to charge him. He kept pressuring me all day, saying lawyers would get involved if I didn't give him a price. I was just going to, oh, get this. He also said that he was going to show her child's father all the tapes, right? He literally said, I have nothing to lose. She was screenshotting and sending to KK. It's like, are you seeing this, right? She said he's going on another bipolar tangent. Then she went off on him, and Jim was like, you baited me today.
Hi, Myron.
Bringing up my exes and all the abuse I suffered. I'll see you, babe. Have a good one. You threatened to send tapes to my baby dads, right? Again, she reached out to KK again, right? She was like, he's threatened to expose me. He's not in his right mind. She said, they were like, well, why'd you reach out to KK? They said, because KK is the right brain. KK is the one that knows everything. There's no way anything happens, and we don't know KK, right? She was like, KK, I need space, right? She's like, I just need like 2 weeks. I need to, listen, we've already broke up, right? Listen, I need space. She said, I'm traumatized from him. Now, what does this establish? One, Diddy, listen, this is the worst of it. I'm starting off slow, right? What does this establish? Diddy is out of his mind. What does this also establish? That KK was in on it. KK knew what was going on. KK was right there for it, right? Now, she said that, Jane said that so then Diddy claps back. You're blackmailing me. This is harassment.
He tried to set that up.
Call the police, right? Jane literally said, call the police. Let them see them in effing
She's
videos.
a co-conspirator.
I was drugged and high all the time. I don't even look like myself. Call the MFM police. Spoiler alert, he did not, in fact, call the police, right? KK reached out and said, hey there, about to read all this. You mean to tell me when all this happened with Diddy and after his house got raided in a grand jury investigation, you mean to tell me the one person that you can literally take you down like that, KK, the best assistant in the world, you weren't reading all of Jane's stuff? Okay, KK, right? Hi there, about to read all this. Jane says, you don't need to call. You're a woman. You know how he is. Sit down with him. He respects you. Call him down, right? She said, you know, he's threatening to expose me, dox me, send this stuff. Again, what do we have right now? We have witness intimidation. Hey, get home safely. All right. We have witness intimidation, right? We have tampering of witness, right? We have bribery. Charge me, give me a price. What else do we have? And that's before we get into the blackmail. That's before we get into the SMEX tapes. That's before we get into the violence. Do you see how that mofo's going down? Everybody that has a hope and a prayer that the patriot saint of wayward hoes, Diddy, is going to be saved from going to jail, you can forget about it. The patriot saint of wayward and abusive hoes is about to literally go to jail. Okay, right? So she said, in January 2024, now this was a weird sliding doors moment. And just hold on, because when I was writing this, I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? But it does come back around. In January 2024, Jane went to Vegas, right? She flew on some rapper's plane. They didn't say who the rapper was, right? She said that the rapper was in a relationship, okay? However, she was invited by the rapper and his girlfriend, who was so beautiful. She said, listen, you little smut demons, I know what you're thinking. She said there was never anything sexual. It was purely platonic. The girl and her were platonic. The guy and her were platonic. Everybody around was platonic, right? She said they flew to Vegas, on the rapper's plane. What rapper has a plane? What rapper has a plane? You don't have to think
Jay-Z?
about that, right? It doesn't matter. I guess they all do. Trisha Dixon said, great job, T. I will wait for your updates. Thank you. Rose J, thank you so much for the super chat. Rosanna Mercury, thank you so much. Tanya Brady said, congrats on your Nancy feature today. You rock. Thank you, Tonia. I appreciate that. Also, hold on. Let me just get a few more. Oh, Sheila said, Jane's testimony made me cry. She kept going back. Exactly. Margaret Washington, thank you so much. Jonathan said, you better get it. Thank you, Jonathan. Don't stop. Get it. Get it. Okay, hold on really quick. Honeybee, thank you so much for always looking out, girl. Honeybee Therapy. Queen Breen said, girl, I was at work risking it all. If only my boss knew how addicted I am to your reports. She'd take my phone while I'm in the office. Yana. Queen Reen just needs her phone. Queen Reen needs her phone. Valentine TV. Valentine. I hope things are doing a little bit better with your mommy. Said, thanks for being you. I heard the judge could charge the escorts and sentence Diddy even if found not guilty of everything that Diddy's done. Baby, Diddy's done. They got that man to a RICO rights, like literally. And even if he gets one jury, it's going to be nullification. They got the same evidence. You just going to have to do this all over again. Cece said, Tisa, important message sent to your Insta. Someone saying, man, stop and play. Listen, thank you so much. I appreciate that. But people are stupid. Anyway, you guys, this is good vibes. Just stop. And please, I don't want to see the word dox. I do not want to see anybody dox. I don't care. I don't care. Sherry Wilkes said, being a DV survivor, my heart breaks for these women because it completely changes who you are. I pray he gets what he deserves. Great, Tisa. Love you. Thank you. Also, Lita Melvin, thank you so much for the super chat, okay? I will say this about Jane Doe. She is not a publicly facing person. She isn't who you think she is. She's not a public figure. She doesn't have a public profile. I don't understand where all these rumors are coming from, and I actually don't know who she is. So, with that said, let's move on, shall we? Okay, right? They said, okay. Jane said that, well, oh my God, Lillian Formalu, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lillian. Also, Sherry Reddy said, hello, beautiful. I just wanted to tell you how much we love and appreciate you. So excited to see you shine on Nancy Grace tonight. We're all so proud of you and all of your success. So deserving. Thank you. Listen. All right, let's get into this, right? Anyway, right? So while Jane was in Vegas, she saw Anton. Anton is one of the escorts, entertainers, right? And Jane saw Anton at the B-Day party, right? So Jane and Antoine saw each other. It's like, yo, it's crazy you here. Oh, yeah, it's crazy, right? They shook hands, and then they went upstairs. Yes, Sherry Cook said, you're doing it. Wow, girl, Nancy. Yes, Nancy Grace, beautiful, right? That's why they mad. And that's why they sitting here filming my live, looking for anything they can to try to take me down. But what's that old meme from Twitter? Y'all hoes praying on my downfall, but I will never fall. Okay, let me stop. All right, right? So Jane was with a male friend. She said completely platonic, right? And the rapper, also platonic, went to the hotel room, right? Jane said she walked in and Anton was having sex with a woman while the rapper and the girlfriend were in the room watching, and everybody was standing around on some literal eyes. Look at these guys! Security! All the U.S. Marshals and whatnot, and the court officers. See you guys, get home safely, see ya. They all came out in their street clothes. Had to call security on them, okay? They look like a band of thugs. Look at this band of thugs leaving the courthouse. So anyway, everybody was sitting there watching, and I said, is this what like rich people do? I don't know. It's a hell of a it's a hell of a thing. So they said in January 2024, Jane wanted to make an OnlyFans, right? She said it didn't have nudity, it had implied nudity. Again, you guys don't know who this is, right? She said she was alone in this content, and she wanted to rely on herself instead of going to friends to actually get money, right? Oh, Tracy's Outlook said, Lovely Ty gave you a shout out earlier today. You're doing a great job. Shout out to Lovely Ty. I saw her in the, let me just go on a tangent. I saw her in the line and was like, I've been watching, she is the OG. I have been watching her forever, and she is even more beautiful in person, more nice, and her voice is more like caramel. Shout out to Lovely Ty. Y'all go follow her if you don't, and if you do, I mean, y'all probably like Tisa. We knew her before we knew you, so what are you doing? But it doesn't matter. Go check out her content. Super, super good, right? She is the OG. Anyway, right? So Jane said she had her child support, right? But she couldn't make ends meet. So her friend Jane, so she had a friend named Beer who helped her with money. He had sent her about 9K. And Beer, her friend, was like, listen, you don't have to pay me back, but you can model for my clothing company if you want, right? Now, this is why her and the demon, right? Her and the devil incarnate were broken up. She went back in January 2024, okay? And in December 28th, she literally said, you baited me into the psychotic episode. But let's get into this, right? So it was February 6th of 2024, okay? He literally said, I had a dream about you. Smile I bought, right? What do you want to do for your birthday? And send a pic of the teeth I bought you. This man is so manipulative, right?
Send a picture of the teeth I bought you.
She tried to stay strong, right? They were going back and forth about whether he was actually going to take her out and do something for her birthday. Now, mind you, much like Cassie's birthday, every time something happened, it was a drugged up freak off, right? They kept going back and forth, right? He said he was begging to see her. She was crying. She said she missed him. I really do think they are for real trauma bonding. Even Jane being on the stand, it makes me think that she still loves this man, right? So she said that she was expecting one-on-one time in Miami, right? Now, here's the thing. She said she went to Diddy's Star Island house. Now, you know he has Star Island 1 and Star Island 2, right? She said she finally got there, right? And there were candles everywhere, lighting a path from Star Island 2, I guess that's where the family stuff stays out, to Star Island 1. That's where all the freak-offs go. So she said she was like walking down there, and she felt like she was a contestant on The Bachelorette. It said it pinged all her things. Like, she was like, finally, I'm getting the man that I want. I'm getting the man that I love. Finally, right? All this stuff was going on. She said when she saw it, she was crying. Candlelit entryway, candlelit thing. And I said, Jane is such a romantic. She had her birthday at 2-star and then went to 1. They led her over to 1-star with all the candles. There were balloons. There were gifts. They had a private chef with a 5-course meal, right? She said Jane was super happy. She was just telling him how much she loved him, and he was telling her how much he loved her. Now, mind you, Diddy hasn't been arrested yet, but he knows he's under grand jury investigation, and he knows that he got a problem with Jane, okay? Now, get this. Diddy gave Jane some E to get high, right? And once she was high out of her mind you, this was supposed to be a private birthday celebration, this and that. Did he know he got that federal grand jury investigation? The whole world is on his neck. While she was high out of her mind, this fool looked at her and said, do you want to get done? He literally looked at her and said, do it. And I said, you don't fear God. You're having freak-offs right now, right? Again, you got her high. You set her up for a freak-off on 1-star Miami. She said, and the prosecutor was like, what happened? And she's like, we had sex. And they're like, in front of who? In front of Sean. And I said, oh my God. So after that, now here's the diabolical part, okay? After that, Jane flew to Los Angeles, right? In February 2024, they got back together. And I was like, girl, it is a trap. He is just using you. He don't want to go to jail, right? And who would have thought that you be the one to send him? I know he didn't. So they said they in February 2024, they got back together, right? And she took 3 trips to visit him, okay? At this point also, it sounded like Diddy had let her believe that they were living together, because she said that she had 3 fake freak-offs, right? With Antoine and Paul. She saw them once or twice. And Jane told, so get this. Now, I need you to Jane can put Diddy away. Diddy knows that. I'm sure Diddy's team is saying, if you don't treat that woman well, but he won't, right? How you doing? If you don't treat that woman well, but he won't because it's not in his blood. Listen to what happened, right? He said that he said that while they were there, right? She started saying like about her finances, right? She said, I have an OnlyFans. It's starting to do really, really well, right? He literally looked at her. This man is starving her of money and was like, wow, you ain't even asked me? You ain't even asked me if that was okay? Then told her that since she's doing so well in OnlyFans, she can pay her own bills. Excuse me, sir? You are using my house for a freak off. You're trying to save money on hotels and using my house as a freak off? Excuse me? Okay, right? So then she said that, listen, so anyway, he kept asking for a party. And she was like, so you basically want to have a party before the lawyers come, right? Because he was trying to get her to do a freak off. Jane was like, yo, let's just wait to do them, right? Let's just wait to do them. So Diddy was like, yo, I can still pull up with some wine. Like, what's going on? So Jane was like, all right. So then she was like, okay, what's up with the party? This was a real party. I thought they were talking about, freak off party. It was a real party. And she was like, yo, my mother's coming to the party. He also told her, since the mom's coming to the party, she might want to chill, because I guess some girls were allowed around the family and some girls weren't. He said, listen, it's no problem. Since you're making your own money, we need to have a clean break, right? We need to just let things go gracefully and quietly. He was still trying to mess with her mind and break up. I'm leaving stuff out because I'm trying to get to the really good part, right? Jane had asked him for money months ago, and she had begged him for money. He wouldn't give any money, right? They were always arguing about the rent, right? Then, and so then she was like, you know what? I'm making my money on OnlyFans. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm sick of explaining to him. He had his accountant email Jen and be like, yo, you know that your lease is about to be up. Just remind her that he's still under her thumb, right? So then there was a bunch of search warrants. They said Homeland Security stopped by her house, right? She immediately called Fahim. Homeland Security had left the card. Fahim literally told Diddy, and Diddy got Jane her lawyer. Do you know that Diddy is still to this day paying for Jane's lawyer? And Jane's lawyer told her story about what Diddy did to her even before she told the prosecution, and the prosecution should have had first dibs, right? She said that also, she did this, one of the escorts they dealt with, Cabral, I think that was Sly. Cabral said, oh, that sounded like the gates of hell were opening up. What the hell? Anyway, they said Cabral said he had called Jane and said, yo, I got a tape, and said he would release it on the dark web, okay? Jane asked how you got that, right? And Cabral said that Diddy had used his phone one time. Now, here's what I do want to say. I don't believe that to be true. I think that I want to see Cabral on the stand, because I don't know if Diddy wasn't behind anything and Diddy wasn't trying anything. It's weird to me, the same thing with Cassie. A random person that shouldn't have had any access to the tapes is actually sitting there, and they have the tapes, and the whole time Diddy, the control freak that is Diddy, is like, what? Wow, that shit is wild. You mean to tell me that Diddy didn't forward that to himself and then delete it off the phone? It makes no sense. I think Diddy did that to scare her, because just like Cassie, he stepped in and was like, yo, I'll take care of it, right? They said Cabral wanted $10K from the victim. She was super upset, and Sean was too. This does not sound like the game he ran on Cassie. Create a problem so that he can be your savior, but he's the demon pulling you down, right? He also, well, here's the thing. A big media company had just bought the tape and called her and said that they would publish it. She said when she heard that, she fainted. When she heard that, she just fell out. She literally fainted, right? And she said that when she fainted, she was in 2-star, right? Now, she said Diddy was spending a lot of time with his family and friends, this, that, and the third. Oh, also, an interesting thing came out in court, okay? They told the jury to strike this, but something came out. Remember that apology that Diddy gave? That I just want to say, when Diddy gave that apology, two things were going on, right? I told y'all that Diddy was under, a grand jury was being convened, and Diddy was under investigation, a federal grand jury investigation, and a grand jury would be convened. I remember that time because people were starting whole industries saying I was lying and clout chasing, and I'm just making up stuff, and Diddy was not under investigation, and there was no way a grand jury. This was like a year, this was like, I was saying this, around the time Diddy did the apology video. I also said, yo, Diddy's coming out with the apology video. I said the exact time he was going to drop it. I said he was going to drop it at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah, the live's still up there. He dropped it at 11:17 on Sunday. I said, what was he going to say? How he was going to say it in the exact order. My receipts were legit. And when that apology video came out, I could do...
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you. A tight-knit college in a city of opportunity, Washburn offers the best of both worlds. Close, but not too close. Small classes and big experiences. Public, prestigious, and
my victory lap. Now, what's the importance of this? Because I want
Thank
to say
you
to the
for
people that said I was
the
lying,
floating
just making up
hearts
shit,
and the
Mark Agnifilo
brushes.
admitted, right, that he Diddy wanted to apologize directly to Cassie, and Mark Agnifilo told him do not mention Cassie's name because do not mention Cassie's name because Cassie. He told Diddy not to make the apology, not to mention Cassie's name in the apology because she could or most likely be a grand jury witness, and they didn't want to get in trouble for grand jury tampering. So you know what? Tattletales, y'all knew. Mark Agnifilo knew. Diddy teams knew, and I think all the haters I had from last year calling me everything but a child of God should actually feel really stupid. But let's move on, right? So again, proof that Mark Agnifilo, he knew about the grand jury. But oddly enough, also, Mark Agnifilo actually, because here's the thing, I get the fact that, of course, Cassie was probably going to be a grand jury witness, but I remember how bad Diddy got dragged because he wouldn't say Cassie's name. And everybody was like, you can't even give her the respect of doing this and that. And I honestly think he shouldn't have even have made the apology. Because if you knew you were under grand jury investigation, imagine the ego and the hubris that you know you're under grand jury investigation and you think an apology is going to make it go away. Man, he'd be playing in our mind. Anyway, right? The defense tried to get the whole video thrown out. The prosecution was like, no. This speaks to Jane's state of mind, right? She can speak on the quality of the apology, right? And get this, Diddy had Jane around the lawyers. So because she was around the lawyers, it was privileged information and it limits what she can share. Now, when I heard that, I said two things. You think you slick. So you kept Jane right up under you because you wanted to make sure that if she actually did testify or go against you, it would 100% be privileged information that it could. And again, this guy is he is insane, right? Anyway, they said, so Marine Comey stood up and was like, Your Honor, listen, we'll avoid the privilege thing. We won't go into attorney-client privilege. Fine, y'all got that. But yet and still, we'll see what we can do. Let me see if I can get a better light. Okay, so listen, the light is fading. I'm trying to get through this, right? So get this. On June 18th, 2024, June 18th, 2024, this is literally like a couple of months before he gets arrested. Jane says their LA home because it sounds like Diddy had convinced them that they were living there, like they were going to move in together, right? Diddy's paying the rent, right? Jen says they had the home to spend time with each other, to really spend time with each other. And she was so happy she was getting all his attention, right? Jonathan, his assistant, showed up. What was Jonathan doing? Helping her stock the fridge with Diddy's favorite stuff, bringing Diddy's clothes over, bringing furniture he liked, bringing personal possessions. Diddy had this girl thinking they were moving in together. The messed up thing is, you could tell that this girl, Diddy is like, what? Let me continue the story and I'll get back to this, okay? Anyway, Jonathan, the assistant, high-level PA, I think another co-conspirator, assisted in stocking the fridge, bought all Diddy stuff over, did all this stuff, right? Now, Jen bought champagne. She bought tequila. She had lights and candles everywhere, okay? They were walking in the backyard. The PA had stocked the fridge with all the little snacky snacks they like, right? She literally sounded like she thought they lived together. She kept saying, our house, our house, our house. So all of a sudden, Diddy arrives, right? And she's saying that they were so lovey-dovey, okay? She was so happy that he was at their house. She lit candles, right? There's pictures that she took of him in the hallway on the area rug. Why is that important? Because Diddy's team keeps trying to say that all this shit couldn't happen. Baby, Jane Doe had the receipts up, down, left, right, and the third. She documented everything. And the thing is, she documented it accidentally. Anyway, right? He was in the, there's a picture of him in the hallway area, on an area rug in the hallway with a timestamp, and the metadata has been confirmed, right? And it's right by that leads to the front door. The PA made all the lights red. She says she didn't like that because she doesn't like red lights, but she just wanted to make them happy, right? Diddy liked it like that. Diddy took a photo on June 19, 2024, also of them proving they were together. Also took videos that night, okay? There was even one video they played to the court where they were playing Just One Look at You and the World. They were playing A Lovely Day, right? And you could hear Diddy in the background, like mumbling and stuff like that, right? Diddy was drinking champagne mixed with tequila. I wonder if it was De Leon. Jen was also drinking that drink, right? And all of a sudden, Jen got into a jealous rage. She called Diddy a PDF file. When I said that, I said, oh, I almost dropped my pen. He called Diddy a PDF file. Now, and here's the thing. The prosecution was not going to let Shade Room run with this, right? No shade to Shade Room, right? But the prosecution was not. What is going on? Look at this. They got the riot gear on. Can y'all see that? What is going on? Oh, there's protesting? Oh, what are they protesting? They got these cops in riot gear. Look at this. I might have to do this live on the run. What is going on? You see them boys in blue? Marching out here like Starship Troopers. Oh my God. Okay. And look, there's more of them. How many police are there? They get every police from the district. Can y'all see them? They're still coming up. Apparently they having protests out here. Anyway, let me get out of here with the Starship Troopers. Anyway, right? If I pick up the stand and run, I'll still give y'all the update. But for right now, I think we are cool sitting there. What the hell? The police are still coming. What are they Oh, I think I know what they're protesting. Yeah, I think I know what they're protesting. Angela Perry said, I'm Essen and Essen airplane right now. I could not wait for T's and Tells. Looking forward to seeing you on Nancy Grace. Thank y'all. And also, Elizabeth Bella said, you're the best. So smart and gorgeous. You remind me of a young Janet Jackson. When she played Penny from Good Times. Great work. May God ever bless you and keep you safe. Thank you so much. We also have Nikki Canada saying, so proud of you and praying for God. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm just trying to play it off on Watton. Starship Troopers go by. Deborah Wooten said, hope all levels of entertainment industries get restructured for business policies and laws after Diddy case and other stuff. Yeah, I do actually think this is a wake up for the entertainment industry 100%. And again, if people don't understand why this is such a bad idea, the prosecution is showing them exactly why. Also, Mary from Virginia said, love you too, mama. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to stay safe because...
For those of us with service animals, preparation is key. Ensure your buddy always has their ID on. Pack a kit with essentials, from food and water to vaccination records to a picture of you two together. Remember, service animals have a right to be with you in shelter.
Hi, Juanita.
Yeah. There go. Okay, let me finish, and then I can run home, right? So anyway, so they're drinking champagne and tequila. Jen is also drinking, right? All of a sudden, she calls him a PDF file, right? Kelly Steve said they're protesting ICE raids and the orange stain sending in the military. Okay, let's focus on Diddy, right? Now, here's the thing. Who was the young girl he was with? Because the prosecution made it safe, seeing that they weren't under 18 years old. However, she said that Diddy was 25 to 27 years her senior, right? And she called him a pedophile. And she literally said, this girl is not old enough to buy drinks, meaning she's not 21. What are you doing with her? Which, honestly, good point. If she can't even buy alcohol, what are you doing with her, right? She said if a girl can't buy her own drinks, why are you talking to her, okay? They were sitting on the kitchen counter, right? And he was bending over to touch a shoe. And she got overcome with rage. And she pushed his head into the marble counter. Now, the prosecution said, was there any bruising? Was there any this? She was like, no. And she got pictures from that day, the next day, the next day after that. There was no bruising. But she pushed his head into the marble counter. I said, okay, fair, accurate, right? And to go on your heart. Oh my God, thank you so much. You said dinner on me. Stay safe, Tisa. It just keeps getting worse with every testimony. Dirty Diddy. Okay, listen. So when that happened, right? After she mushed his head into the counter, she took all the glasses, the champagne glasses, and all the candles, and she threw it at him. She said she erupted in rage because she's like, all this time, you keep treating me like crap. All this time, you're treating me like crap. And she literally has a meltdown. Now, she says the glasses didn't hit him, the candles didn't hit him, but the wax got on his clothes. And you know the way Diddy feels about his clothes, right? She kept yelling, I hate you, as wax was dripping off his clothes. Diddy got angry. He was cursing and calling her ass like, you bleep, right? All of a sudden, she said he got this demonic look in his eyes. And she all of a sudden calmed down and she was like, phew, and she took off down the house, right? She ran away to the master bedroom, right? And she kept telling him, leave, just leave. He literally kicked that door open and popped it off of its hinges and its locks. And again, these doors are super expensive, heavy doors. This ain't no like, you know, a 2-bedroom for $300 apartment doors that you can like hear, like the doors are hollow, right? Made out of plywood. These are heavy, right? He kicked that open. She then ran to the master bath. Like she ran to the master bath and locked herself in there. He kicked the door open again, right? They were showing pictures of this to the jury. When I say the door was split through, it looked like something from Jack Nicholson from The Shining. And I kept saying, what is it? First of all, Diddy, they keep saying he's a crackhead. I don't know if he is, but crackheads do have superpowers. But what is Diddy that he is always some kung fu panda mess? What is that? Like, somebody, if they really wanted to put him out of commission, they would have broke his legs a little while ago. But I guess that's his villain superpower, right? So she ran into the bedroom, kicked it open, ran into the bathroom, kicked it open, right? Then she went to the master bath, kicked the door off the hinges. Then she ran into her master closet, right? He was like, let me in. She got so scared. She said she was wearing like a tight brown dress. She literally just threw on the first summer dress she could see, right? And put it on, and it was long and billowy. She just wanted something to run in, right? So then she said that she tried, after he kicked the door in from the closet, she tried to run out the other way of the closet and run to the front door. She literally was running to the front door. And right when she was right there to see the front door, she said this man came out like a monster. He came out from the monster. And then he literally took that same foot that was kicking, splintering, and kicking doors off the hinges and splintering down the middle like Hayuka, right? Street Fighter. He then kicked her in her thigh. She fell over onto the floor, right? It's not over. Then as she was on the floor, he literally put her in a chokehold and lifted her up by her neck in the chokehold, and her little feet were dangling off the ground. This mofo was trying to... And mind you, all this is going on June 19, 2024. After the grand jury, after this, after the raid. If he is acting this crazy, what do you think he does when nobody's watching him? That man don't fear God. Anyway, right? Lifted off the ground. Her little toes were swinging. She literally fought for her life and squirmed out of it, right? Then Jen ran barefoot for 6 blocks. She's a runner. She's a track star. She's gonna run away when it gets off. She sprinted 6. Sorry, y'all. God was telling me to calm down. Hold on. Let me get my purse really quick. Okay. Sorry about that. That was the win. Anyway, right? She ran. She ran 6 blocks down a dark residential neighborhood. 6 blocks she ran, okay? And she said that she hid. I said, where? She said she ran barefoot for 6 blocks, right? She had nothing with her. No phone, no nothing, whatever. She was just running for her life, right? Mind you, her hip is really, really injured, and she just got done being literally dangling, right? So she literally said she hid for approximately 2 hours, right? And then she said when she went back to her house, she took the long way back to her house because she didn't want to see that mofo, right? She took the really long way back to her residence. She said when she got back to her house, she saw Diddy walking toward her, right? She said she immediately went to the guest bedroom. That's the only door he hadn't kicked in. Mind you, it's been 2 hours. How you still mad? She went over to the guest bedroom. He kicked in that too, right? He kicked in that too, right? She was throwing glasses and candles and screaming, "Get away from me, I hate you, leave me alone." All right?
Wow.
Now listen, at that point, I think Diddy's lawyers were like, "Your Honor, may we have a sidebar?" And they went over to have a sidebar. Now, we can't hear what they're saying, but Maureen Comey was being super animated at the sidebar. I kept seeing Judge Aaron shaking his head. No, I don't know if it was to Maureen or to something that Diddy wasn't doing, but it was doing it, right? So anyway, right? Maureen Comey, she was being super animated at the sidebar, right? And the judge kept shaking his head. No, it don't matter. Maureen didn't need that. She came back with a vengeance, right? Okay. So Jen, after that, ran to the patio. So the door comes open, she sees it, and she's like, ah, again, it was an episode of Shining. She then ran out to the patio, right? And while she ran out to the patio, he tried to grip her up again. She did the only thing she could and turned around and mollywopped him. Again, how much could her hits have hurt? Because as we saw from her testimony, but also as we see from the videos, and pictures that are being displayed, he does not have any marks on him. So if anybody's saying, "Oh man, shut up," he didn't have a mark on him. All right. Now, she came back, right, and she mollywopped him. And she screamed why she did, right? "I hate you," which I said, this sounds 100% accurate. Usually when you mollywop someone, you scream "F you" or "I hate you" or "Die, ninja." Right? So then she ran into the backyard, right? And she said she ran into the deep part of the backyard. And about that time, I'm like, is Jane Doe living in a mansion? Because what is the deep part of the backyard? My backyard, I can just stand there and be like, you, and you, right? But anyway, she ran to the deep part of the backyard. She said it was a very long, but maybe slightly narrow. So she ran to the deep part, right? And she said she fell down, much like Cassie, and she started curling up into a ball. Now, can I just say, Young Miami was talking about, unlike some people, I'm not playing a victim. How can you hear everything that Diddy did, even if it's not illegal? Why would you want to see a future with someone like this? Because this is your future, but you know, it's none of my business. Anyway, right? She fell and she curled up, right? She curled up, Jen curled up in the ball. In a little ball. And then Diddy
curl up in the ball again
2 times in the backyard, right? She was curled in a ball after he punched her 2 times in the forehead and in the eye area.
Wow.
Same thing he did to Cassie. I think he likes bruising and all the stuff women, right?
That's
she
a
curled up in
trophy.
a ball and he started punching and kicking and going crazy. He started stomping that girl out in the backyard,
That's
right?
his trophy.
And get this, he was then, while he was stomping and kicking her, screaming, "You're trying to take me away from my family! You're trying to take me away from my family!" I said, ain't nothing worse than a demon that got misplaced anger. Ninja, you and your baby oil and your candle and your violence fetish is going to take you away from your family. I don't understand how Diddy blames everybody else for taking him away from his family. Ninja, is you. You're the reason you got taken away from your family. And even when you should have been acting right, you were still out there doing these freak offs, being abusive, and acting a complete and utter fool. I don't want to hear it. Anyway, right? So they said that after that, right? I might have to move in a second. They said after that, she was violently beaten and kicked, right? Get this. They also go on to say that Diddy had his shoes on while he was beating and kicking her while she was barefoot. He then grabbed her by her hair and her arm, like this is Game of Thrones, right? Like, remember when the Mad King Joffrey literally, no, not Joffrey. Who's the guy? There was another mad person. Sansa always had some abusive guy where he would throw people to dogs. This sounds like the way they would bring her back every time she tried to escape, right? He dragged her by her hair and her arm and dragged her back to the house. Jen was yelling, "I hate you, I hate you." She dragged her into the master bedroom, right? That's when she saw Diddy's phone, right? Gina Henderson, thank you so much. You said coffee on me. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the Diddy coverage, right? She said she was dragged into the master bedroom and she was trying to cool off. And that's when she saw Diddy's phone, right? And she decided to call the little girl. She called that girl and she was like, yo, how was the trip? The girl, whoever it is, started cursing her out. I looked at it, it's like a scene from Belly. Don't be calling my phone, blah, 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 right? She started insulting her, okay? Now get this, another sicko thing. When that happened with Jen, the girl started insulting her and calling her everything but a child of God. Diddy held her down and made her listen to all the shit the girl was talking to about. Diddy held her down after he just got viciously beating her and let another woman berate her and do all this stuff because she needed to know her place, right? Now, here's the thing. By this time, Jen is just like she's going crazy. She's beside herself. She wanted to get away from him, okay? She literally screamed, he's beating my ass right now, right? But she was asking for help. And that's what made Diddy hang up. Because he was like, she's beating me up right now. And Diddy hung up the phone, okay? Mind you, I don't think the girl called back. And again, I don't understand how when you see somebody being abusive, it never clicks in your head that you might be next, you know? Anyway, she wanted to get away from him. Now get this. Diddy FaceTimed Jonathan. Right? After that happened, Jonathan's sister.
Who don't use drugs?
Now, mind you, all this shit just happened. This is happening one on top of the other. Like, seconds are elapsing, right? He told her, Diddy told his PA to tell her there wasn't any girls in Montana. Tell her there wasn't any girls in Utah. Of course there were girls in Utah. Diddy can't do anything without some girl next to him, because how's he going to get the guys? Anyway, right? She said she was just so exhausted. And she's really like into spiritual and energy and stuff. And she was so exhausted. And she's like, I have to go. So she went in the shower to cleanse that energy off her. And she said, as she was walking in past the bathroom mirror, she came and turned to herself. And she had a huge black eye and 2 giant knots on her forehead. Okay? Now, they were the size of golf balls, 2 of them. And a black eye was falling. Mind you, Diddy had no injuries. This woman is very much smaller than Diddy, right? And get this, she stepped it. Listen to this thing from The Shining. Diddy is a menace. He is going to end up killing a woman. To me, it gives murder, everything vibes. Like, I'm not even joking, because listen to this scene, right? So she's just like, I can't take this. I can't take this. She doesn't know what's going on. He won't leave. She finally just gets into the shower. She is naked in the shower, as human beings tend to be, but not demon child Diddy. Do you know she said she was in the shower, right? Diddy steps into the shower with his pants on. This fool got his pants on. He's in the shower in the pants on. He wasn't trying to get under the water. He wasn't trying to be romantic. He stood there on the other side of the shower. Y'all, this is a horror movie. He stood there with just the pants on in the other side of the shower while she don't got any clothes on. He then slapped her. Boom! He slapped her. Boom! He slapped her. Boom! Each time he slapped her, she would lose her thing. Finally, on the third one, she went down and fell on the hard marble. You're in a shower, completely vulnerable, no clothes on. You've already been brutalized outside. You've been hiding barefoot for 2 hours, and somebody steps in the shower with you with pants on? Y'all.
Fill up on karma.
Fill up on karma.
And cookies.
Fill up on karma.
Y'all. Anyway, the third time he slapped her, boom! She fell down and hit the marble, right? She fell over, right? Why that? The prosecution was like, and what did you say, Jen? And she was like, I said he was a bitch and I hate you. And I said, I second that. I second that, right? She said after that left, she was just exhausted. I mean exhausted. She crawled out of the shower, okay? She crawled out of the shower, and she said she just sat there in severe exhaustion. She said she's never been so exhausted in her life. She's never been anything. And this fool is still there. He hasn't left yet. He's still there. So you're sitting there with like a caged animal, right? He literally came in to look at her. She was all like slapped up, like all this stuff. He literally was like, yo, just put some ice on it, right? And then he told her to put an outfit on. The outfit was the outfit for a freak off. He said, put an outfit on, right? And get this. He said that while he was barking that at her, he was using her phone to watch porn, right? How do they know? Because she was screen mirroring the P onto the TV. I know she was sitting there like, oh my God, right? And get this. He said, now while that was happening, he scrolled her messages and saw old messages with Anton, the hooker, talking about like, oh, that was crazy. We saw each other's mutual friend. This is January 2024. Can you imagine that demon going through all your messages? The cheater, the pumpkin eater, the psychotic person got the nerve to be like, are you cheating on me? Right? He scrolled through. So she's sitting there after she's lumped up, beat up and everything, watching all her messages go. Just sitting there scared, right? He said he finally found that, right? And he literally said, what is this? Why are you guys together? You guys don't have any mutual friends. She said she lied because she didn't want to escalate, right? And then he said, well, you know what? I'm calling Anton over. He called that same fool over that he's now accusing after he beat her up and she got knocked all over in a black eye. He called Anton over to have a freak off, right? Now get this. She said, so get this. He texted Anton. He saw that on the screen mirror and she was like, why would you text him? Why would you text him? Right? He literally looked at her and he's like, you're not going to ruin my life. No, you're not going to ruin my night. He told Jen to put on some makeup, right? And put on some makeup to cover the black eye and flip her hair over to the side so that it covers up the golf-sized hickeys. This man is deranged, right? So Jen let Anton in, right? And she said that when she met in, you know, they were talking and Diddy was just sitting in the corner with an evil stare, just evil, just psychotic, right? With an evil stare, right? And then he said, yo, I need to talk to you. Come here. And he pulled her into a separate room, right? Now he pulled her into the master bedroom. Because the master bedroom, the door was off the hinges. It couldn't close all the way, but they tried to close it a little, but it was still open, right? And he said, yo, those text messages wasn't sitting right with me. What's this mutual friend y'all know? The audacity that somebody will say this text message wasn't sitting right with me. Who's the mutual friend, right? Listen, she said she told him the truth and said that this is what happened in Vegas, that there was no sexual contract, right? And she said, what happened after that? They said Diddy sat there, she saw, and his heart just sank. He just looked so hurt. I said, baby, that's not hurt. Anytime a lion looks sad, he's about to rip your face off, right? And he literally looked at her and said, did you just cheat on me? Did you just cheat on me? The cheater, pumpkin eater, did you just cheat on me? I thought it was an open relationship. What happened? It was an open relationship, right? Right. He said, you let a P-star have something over me. I'm Diddy. I'm an actor. I'm an entertainer. I'm a mogul. You let that man have something over me. I said, boy, stop, right? Anyway, she said that he literally then called her in and he was like, take this MFE pill and shoved pills in her mouth. Better take this MFE pill, right? He forced and then so she had no choice. He literally said, you better take this. This is a man that brutalized her. What are we at? He has brutalized her, kicked her, stomped her out, did a chokehold, had her little feet, had her little toes dangling. He has literally forced her to hide in the street barefoot, right? He said that she was in that, hold on, I'm almost done, right? She said that she was in the bathroom. She took it. He said, you better take this. You better take this MFing pill. You better take this MFing pill. Go. And then after she took it, he was like, no, get out of here. Get out of here. Go F him. Go S his D. I don't care. You're not going to ruin my night. You better go do something for him. And then, get this. While he was telling her all that, she said he got in her face and was like, is this coercion?
What?
Got him all wild. Got him all wild. I'm going big. Pull up on him like I ain't.
What?
Tell him we gonna play this out.
Let me guess. You're thinking about going to therapy. And as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great idea. But first, let's talk about the things they don't tell you. First of all,
When I said, at that time I wrote in my notes, you going to jail, ninja. Is this coercion? But get this. Jane started screaming, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to F him. Now she's all bruised up, tight, had the worst night of her life. I don't want to. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And he was, shut up and go do it. So he made her give oral to Anton, right? She said she felt sick
so
and
Anton needs to be the next
right?
witness.
And she said after Anton had, quote, unquote, finished, Jim was like, yo, you can leave, right? And she also told him, don't worry, I'll send something for you later. Diddy got, and get this, after he made her completely humiliate herself, that is great. If somebody doesn't want to do it, that is great. Make him talk. Anyway, he said after he completely humiliated her and he had her send Antoine away, right? He then got dressed and then berated her. You dumb B, you this, you that, you ain't this, you ain't that. He literally started berating her. And he said, I can't believe you cheated. I can't believe you went outside of what we have. I can't believe you cheated. He was walking in circles, pacing. I can't believe you
after
cheated.
he done got out.
You ruined what they have. He said, we can never be together after this. You ruined what happened.
Y'all wasn't together anyway.
I wanted to give you the world. Again, serial gaslight manipulator. And all you have to do is probably do what your lawyers told you to do. Treat that good girl. Treat that girl good. Make her think that you've trained your ways. Keep her close by you and wait for the trial to ride out. But no. Diddy couldn't do that because it's not in him to treat people like that. He still needed her to know she don't run shit. She's his bottom B, and he will do that without what you will, or whatever that demonic saying is, right? Anyway, she said she just sat there quietly while he was acting a damn fool. Listen, she sat there while he was acting a damn fool. Oh, it's not over. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I got to get to the rest of this. LaRose 7, we're going to have a commercial break. LaRose 7639 said, this was all said today. What the hell have I been watching or listening to? It's the best question. This was all said today from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. It was 3 hours. I got the notes. This was all said today. LaRose 7639, thank you so much. Beverly Ann said, be careful, it's ICE protests. Love your reenactments, thank you. Sherry Reddy said, you're a cute little light. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the detail and your hard work and dedication. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. Thank y'all. Also, you guys, don't forget, I do other stuff besides Diddy Trump. I'm going to start posting different videos. Please don't let it flop. Don't forget, I'm going to be on Nancy Grace, ABC Live, Nightline, and a few other places too, okay? Mrs. Lane 86 said, bless you for being brave enough to share the truth. Our daughters will be more protected because of your voice. I hope so. And positive influence. Love from Texas. I hope our daughters and our silent sons are protected. But I know it's mostly women that the abuse happens to. So yes, you know. LaRose 769 said, it's none of my business. April Gardner, thank you so much. Charlie says, plenty good, said you deserve an Emmy for your recap. Every news station should be trying to book you, girl. Yolanda Blocker said, his action proves he was not apologetic for his actions when he made that fake video and doing the same things. Actually amplified it. This is what's scary. It's like saying that like Jeffrey Dahmer is under investigation for eating people and you luring people back to your house. And I don't want to make light to the people that he actually like, you know. But it's like you don't know when to stop. Charlton Augustine said, oh my God, you're adorable with these reenactments. Flygirl517 said, hi T, so watching you and Nancy Grace, how was it? It was amazing. We love Nancy. We love ABC. We love it. Erica Miller Norbert, thank you so much. Marie said, love you, Tisa. Be safe, but get out. You'll get caught in traffic. Leave the streets. About to get dangerous, sir. I'm about to leave. Hold on. Callie C said, oh, protesting. Thank you, Callie. Mary from Virginia, I said, thank you. Thank you. Frank Wilson said, Tisa, after this trial, time for Tisa's studio set, Tisa Productions, Tisa Interviews for the Tisa Tells show. Keep it shooting for the stars. Don't listen. And I want to know, put a 1 in the comments because I want to see if I actually do something and invite you guys out. Would you guys these mine? Keena Green said, thank you. You are the best. I think we got everybody. Last people. And then see the girl. I was going to take you with me too. Okay, so, right? She said that him berating her. How could you? You ruined everything. I loved you. Don't you know would
Just
you wait?
lying.
How could you do this? You said, dumbass B. I wanted to be with you. This went on for 2 hours. This ninja acting up and acting a fool, right? He was like, you a cheater. You a whore. We're never going to be together. Never. I'm never going to trust you. Ever. She said it went on from the 18th to the 19th in the morning, and then security came and got him, right? Now listen, she said that she spoke with Antoine again via text. Diddy had Ubered like about 10 to 12K in cash over to her house to pay Antoine. She paid Antoine about 3 or 4K. And then the rest of that money was supposed to go to her doors. But she didn't pay for the doors because she said she was asking around, seeing if somebody could fix, but she was too busy, right? Now get this. Diddy sent his security with the money. She sent Fahim and his assistant Jonathan. I think those co-defendants. She said it wasn't the first time they've ever sent money in a cash bag. She put the, get this, she has proof for everything. She took a picture of the bag, and then she took a picture of the Uber license plate and sent that to the escort to prove the money was on its way over, right? Listen. So anyway, get this. The jury's being showed all of the damage that Diddy did, and when I say they look horrified, they look horrified. She took pics of all the doors. The jury is rubbing their face, covering their brows. The brows are furrowed. They're covering their head, right? When they showed the picture of the crack down the middle of the door, one of the jurors were like literally looking like, how did he do that, right? And she said she saw Diddy a couple days later. She said, I went outside, right? He said, I can't be with you, baby girl. You went outside. You cheated on me, right? And she kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry. I should have never gone to Vegas. I should have never done this. I should have never done that, right? She said that, oh, get this. There's proof of all this. So there's videos of her filming herself. And when the camera accidentally pans to her, you see all her bruising and damage. You see all, and the jury saw that, they were like, exactly. You see all, and you see the camera in front of Diddy, and he don't got a mark on him. He don't got a mark on him. He is smiling, looking up, don't got one dark eye, don't got one knot, don't got anything, right? The jury looked horrified. They're staring at the screen, right? Diddy has no bruising on the video. I said Diddy is an M-effing, listen, he is an M-effing demon. A demon.
Thank you,
demon.
Jackie.
Anyway, you guys, listen. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Diddy's a demon. And also, hold on really quick. We got the commercial break. And those police,
From Kansas City to the capital city, Washburn University will surprise you.
that stuff is getting louder. Hold on really quick, y'all. Listen, Monica Flo, thank you so much. Kim Cake, thank you again. Devon Beachwood said, what time are you going to be on Nancy Grace tonight? I think 6 to 9. I'll put the link in my bio. Dawn Breeden, thank you so much for the super chat. If it's not today, it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know her upload schedule. I filmed, but don't worry. I think it's going to be tonight. Dimple said, love you, Tisa. You need the you need the recipe for your hair? Okay, girl, I'm going to do a hair tutorial. Y'all going to be shocked. Rosie P said, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Marsha Pixie Dust, thank you so much. Also, Felicia Vargas, thank you so much. Charlize, thank you so much for the super chat. Mumba Box, let's celebrate. You know, the thing. Carly said, welcome to... I am busy with this one. I can't fight every injunctions. I'm just busy with the halls of justice. Creatively Mixed, thank you so much. And thank you for it being your first super chat. An opinionated said, Diddy means devil and demon demands you. Yes, exactly. The devil and demon demands you. Exactly. And Spider-Man said, J.K. Frost, BBNNTWK. I don't know who that is. Amazing Spider-Man, thank you so much. Toy Wood, thank you so much for the super chat. And Honeybee Beers, thank you again. Amazing Spider-Man, thank you for everyone. Anyway, listen, let me get out of here before I wait. The Legendary Kind said Sean John needs to come up with a jumpsuit line because it's coming soon. So proud. Oh, thank y'all guys. Oh, and also Lucia Garcia, thank you so much. Anyway, you guys, let me get out of here before something bad happens. I'm going to go live later on tonight. We're going to talk about a little gossip on Moen Live, and then we're going to get back to...
Let's get to the next one.
How much of this was her choosing to stay for a better lifestyle? And again, I mean, these types of cases are very complicated. And, you know, when you think about domestic violence, a lot of people don't think about, you know, emotional abuse. They don't think about financial abuse and things like that. But again, you know, there's some of her testimony did smack me wrong. So I don't, yeah, it's going to be a mixed bag.
Let me tell you this. What you just outlined is kind of what I have been wondering myself, and wondering if the prosecution needed her for this case. But let me explain where I think she actually has done well for the prosecution. I'm going to get to sex trafficking in a little, but I gotta say, I think she's really helping to prove transportation to engage in prostitution, that charge. And she makes up one of the specific charges. I think it's count 5 in the indictment. By the way, this carries up to 10 years in prison, so it's a serious federal charge. But it is literally the accusation that Combs allegedly transported sex workers and Jane in interstate and foreign commerce on multiple occasions with the intent that they engage in prostitution. I don't believe there is a force, fraud, or coercion element that's necessary. It's basically transporting people for sex work, okay? Here's a little bit of a back and forth from the transcript from last week. Question: about how many of those times that you saw Sean in person between May of 2021 and October of 2023 did you end up having a hotel night? Which, in other words, is kind of like these debauchery nights. They're similar to the freak-off nights, okay. Answer: every single time I saw Sean. Okay, so she testified that Combs would arrange her travel. This was through assistance, that he paid for it, that she saw Combs hand cash to the male performers. She also testified that his security or assistants, like his purported chief of staff, Christina Coram, would give him cash. She testified that she helped to pick the performers, even arranged the flights of at least one male performer from Atlanta to New York, and she allegedly paid him $2,000 to $4,000. She claims she got the money from Combs. She testified how Combs arranged performers to come over too. She testified that the assistants had set up the rooms. So Melba, from this charge alone, do you think her testimony supports that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I say it's a mixed bag, because she definitely did give some things to the prosecution in terms of showing that
Does your internet bill keep getting higher? That's because promo pricing is full of surprises. At Google Fiber,
did give some things to the prosecution in terms of showing that she was flying all over the country to engage in these freak-off/hotel nights, that it was at Diddy's request and direction, that, again, that this wasn't something, even though coerciveness and fraud and force are not necessarily required, again, when you look at it in the totality of the circumstances, sum and substance, nobody wanted to be there, right? The performers were there because they were paid. The women were there because they were in a relationship in some way, shape, or form with Diddy and thought that they were in a loving relationship, and it turns out they were really being abused. So I think it adds a lot to the general context, as well as substantiating each of these charges. So for sure, she gives the prosecution that.
Well, Melba, if she's testifying about how she helped arrange hotel nights as a surprise for Sean, that was a part of her testimony, I believe, can he say, hey, listen, I wasn't a part of all this? Or even if he agreed, is it still prostitution? You know, there was an argument that I'm paying these people for their time and experience, and maybe they could say I had them come over to dance and perform, and then one thing led to another. Or is this, again, I still feel like this is the most straightforward charge, but is there a way for him to even wiggle out of this?
No. Money for sex equals prostitution. And there's no other way around it. And if you're paying these workers, whether it's him doing it directly, whether it's him having an intermediary do it, you're still directing it, right? So at the end of the day, money for sex equals prostitution. He can't get around that. There's nothing he can do.
Let me ask you this. Aside from the men getting paid, right? If she, and this is what she testified to, that she got her rent paid by Sean Combs, that he was giving her gifts like a love bracelet, that he was giving her cash. Is she the commercial aspect? Is she getting paid and flown around for sex work?
Realistically, yes. But the flip side of it is that I don't think she went into it with that arrangement in mind. So in her mind, she thought she was in a relationship. In his mind, I mean, who can really tell if it was a relationship or he was using her as a sex worker or a hybrid thereof? But it's not that straightforward that, Okay,
Hey,
we're
Ayana.
having a commercial transaction, you and I. You give me money, I give you XYZ in return. It didn't seem to be that kind of relationship. She talked about I was in love with him and we had all these beautiful nights together, and I got upset when he was flying some other woman around on a private jet and wouldn't take me to the Turks and Caicos, that sort of thing. So to me, that takes away the commercial sex work aspect as in terms of intentionality. She did not intend to be a sex worker. That's not what she came to the table to do. She thought she was getting a boyfriend.
Okay, now let me move on to the most controversial charge, sex trafficking. Force, fraud, coercion. Force, fraud, coercion to induce Jane into performing commercial sex acts. That's the allegation. This is the mixed bag, even more so that I think you're talking about. So, the travel component could arguably be established if this all happened in all different places, but it's really about the non-consensual aspect. She testified how Combs was dismissive of her request that the men wear condoms and how he even became upset that she was afraid of speaking up because he would become agitated. She testified that on at least one occasion when she was exhausted because of these allegedly prolonged sex sessions, hours upon hours, Combs allegedly said to her, "You're not getting tired on me, are you?" And something along the lines of, "Let's finish strong," or "Let's end on a high note." She claimed that after she threw up in one session, he allegedly said to her, "That's good. You'll feel better now that you've thrown up, so let's go." And then she was allegedly directed to have sex with a third man that time. That he allegedly got disgusted at her for crying. That when she tried to speed things up with the other men, in an effort to, what she says, basically get it over with, he would tell her to slow things down. She testified that she told Combs that she didn't want to engage in this in certain ways, including through text messages. She apparently wrote to him how the debauchery or hotel nights were, quote, "the only reason you have me around and pay for the house," and that she was doing things that make me disgusted with myself. I don't want to keep feeling like that. And she encouraged him that they should talk like adults and figure out where we're going from here. "I don't want to feel obligated to perform these nights for you." Combs apparently replied at one point, "Girl, stop." There were more sexually explicit messages where she complained how she's only being used to perform certain sex acts on other men. She also claims Combs gave her drugs like ecstasy to keep her awake for these sex sessions, although I think there is a question whether it was voluntarily taken or not. And you wonder if the acts themselves, right, sex acts with other men, one even apparently lasting 3.5 And you wonder if the acts themselves, right, sex acts with other men, one even apparently lasting 3.5 days, the jury could be saying, how on earth could all of this really be consensual? Melba, I'll get to the weaknesses or the potential weaknesses in her testimony. That alone, and if there's anything I miss, please add, but that alone, is that force, fraud, coercion?
That argument can be made that it is, on top of the fact that he is paying her bills and made it very clear. I believe in one part of the testimony, he allegedly said something along the lines of, "I'm on my job," meaning with the inference being, I'm paying for your bills, or, for your rent.
You're talking about a voice note that.
Correct. Yes, the voice note where he had said, I'm on my job, you need to get on yours. The implication being, I pay your bills, therefore you need to do what you need to do to make me happy, which includes these freak-offs. So it's one of those things where she kept talking about how she was a single mom. She didn't know where she and her son were going to be able to go. And, so from that perspective, she felt coerced because she was either going to be out on the street or she had to do these disgusting things. So there is definitely an argument to be made about the coercion aspect. Force is going to be a little bit harder from that standpoint, because I think for Cassie, the force is much stronger because obviously there was physical brutality. We saw the tape over and over again. And so definitely the force argument is stronger with Cassie. I don't think the force is as strong with Jane, but I think the coercion is definitely there. Fraud, I don't think there's much fraud there. I think it's mostly we're hanging our hat on coercion.
Remember, we're in the crux of her testimony. If you base it on the opening statement, there is violence to come. That's what I'm imagining we're going to get to. So again, it's a little bit, we're getting into this based on her 2 days of testimony or day and a half of testimony. We'll see where it goes. Here's the problem. There are many things that the defense may jump on And to be clear, again, at the time of this recording, the defense hasn't even begun their cross-examination. So what were some of the weaker points in her testimony? Okay, a lot of her testimony was about how she did things to make her partner happy. That when she said she couldn't perform because she was on her period, she claims Combs accused her of lying, called her weird, but as far
That's
as I remember,
force.
I don't hear anything about her being forced to still go through with it. Like being thrown into a room and said, I don't care.
That's
have
not
sex with
always
this
how
guy
force
on your period."
is.
She talked about setting up some of these events. She talked about that she chose the workers. Again, she said it was to please Sean Combs, but apparently she had a role in who was selected. She wrote sexually explicit messages to sex workers and Combs. She claims to turn him on. That she was with him up until his arrest with a last hotel night in August of 2024, so just weeks before he was taken into custody. She claimed that he is still paying her rent, and that the only thing she really enjoyed about the hotel nights was being with Sean. How she was essentially just putting on a good show for him, disconnecting when performing. Melba, is this enough? Is this enough to show a lack of consent, or does the jury need more? Did it feel like she was just getting upset that she wasn't getting a more alone time with him, or is she
Because it wasn't about
testifying
money,
as
because
a
her rent
victim
is still
of
being
sex
paid
trafficking? I
up
know
until
this is
this
not
day.
the classic example of sex trafficking, but what do you think? Are those problems in her
I
testimony?
believe her too.
Again, it's going to be.
She's still being
the key is going to
paid
be
right
the prosecutor's
now
going to have to give the
while
closing
he's been in
argument of
jail.
life,
It's not about money.
Because they really need to weave this together for the jury for them to have a better understanding. Because again, I think a lot of this would smack the average juror wrong. I mean, when you have Jane talking about how Diddy paid her rent and was giving her 10 grand a month just
Still
for expenses,
is.
and then she turns around and says that was not enough.
She's missing the point. He still is. Right now, while she is on the stand, she still is. Not only is she still getting her rent paid, he is also paying for her lawyer. Okay? He's still paying for her lawyer. Yeah. But he thought that she was still up under the love contract to protect his name and protect him at all costs. So he's thinking that he's still paying for her to be a witness for him. Silly rabbit.
For her to be able to furnish her house and live in a comfortable manner, that she needed to go into debt and open 3 more credit cards. I think that aspect, I think it would put the jury off, especially if you have a jury of average New Yorkers who, you know, working, trying to do everything they can to make ends meet, and would love to have an extra 10 grand free and clear every single month to be able to, you know, pay their bills, go on vacation, or do something. So I think some of those aspects made her look like she wanted to be in the scene and she just didn't like the price that she had to pay. I think there's definite argument to be for that by the
Do you think it's a problem that she was with him up until last year and is now testifying? Because again, it's not like the classic sex trafficking case where, oh my gosh, someone was kidnapped, you know, was shipped off for sex trafficking, authorities rescue her, she testifies again. This is different.
It's a different look, but it's still trafficking.
And again, it's really getting back to Dr. Hughes's testimony in terms of the complicated relationships, in terms of domestic violence relationships. The dynamics are so strange and are foreign to most of us, right? Because you're like, if somebody's forcing me to, or telling me I need to have sex with multiple men while I'm recovering from a yeast infection or a urinary tract infection, you know, most people are thinking, the average person will be like, no, I'm not going to do that. You need to go somewhere else with that foolishness. So I think hearkening back to Dr. Hughes's testimony would be the best play for the prosecution to kind of explain why she even continued to sleep with him all the way, or be in these situations all the way up until 2024.
Do you think Dr. Hughes will have to be recalled? There was a little bit of discussion this morning about whether that's a possibility. Again, she is a forensic psychologist who talks about the complicated relationship between a victim and an abuser, and why they stay in touch, and why they might behave in ways that look inconsistent with being abused, but there are different explanations for it. I'll give you an example. I was wondering, do you think Jane vocalized her lack of consent enough for legal purposes, as opposed to I hate to say it like this, but I wonder if this is how the defense is going to characterize it, a disgruntled girlfriend, right? She talked about giving subtle clues at times that she didn't want to do something. And when she did it feel like she was upset she didn't get alone time with him, or she's being victimized? I'll give you an example. This is from the transcript. Do you have an estimate of about how many times you told Sean that you did not want to keep having these hotel nights? I don't have an estimate, but I know I definitely wasted in a sense of mostly text messages. Jane, between May 2021 and October 2023, did you try to bring this up with Sean over the phone and in person? Yes. Once or more than once? More than once. And each time, did he react essentially the same way? How did he react? Just upset, defensive, belittling, dismissive? Melba, again, do you think Dr. Dawn Hughes has to be recalled to explain this? And did Jane, in your opinion, based on the testimony so far, did she vocalize her lack of consent enough to put Sean Combs on notice and to make it clear that he was sex trafficking her, or allegedly sex trafficking her?
So to answer the second question first, I think she vocalized her displeasure and lack of consent enough. Because I think it just felt like she said it 10 different ways from sunrise, whether it was a text message, whether it was phone calls, him ceasing to speak to her for like 3 weeks or something along those lines, after she said that, this is problematic, et cetera, et cetera. So his reactions to what she said made it clear that he heard her loud and clear and did not like what she had to say. So I think from a legal's perspective, yes, she had clearly said that I don't want to do this. Now, the fact that she kept doing it, separate discussion, but she always said that this was not something she wanted to do. This is not the relationship she wanted to have. Talking about the Pandora's box, like I feel like I opened Pandora's box and now this is the only basis of our relationship and there's nothing else. She made it clear this is not what she wanted to do. So I think that part is very clear. Now, in recalling Dr. Hughes, I'm on the fence. I almost feel like if I was a prosecutor, I would have waited to call Dr. Hughes, knowing the types of testimony that was to come, because of course you knew what order pretty much you were going to call the witnesses in. So if you knew you had multiple girlfriends who had similar experiences, then you kind of wait and have Dr. Hughes come and explain all of the behaviors in one fell swoop, rather than bringing her on to explain Cassie's behavior and then try to recall her for the narrow purpose and have to fight with the defense.
First of all, they had to get Cassie on the stand immediately because she was about to give birth.
Of course,
so they had to do that. I think there's something to say now the jury knows where Dr. Hughes is coming from in that mindset. Then you call Jane as opposed to after. They're already primed for it in a way. So I hear you, but I think, that's another way of looking at it. Look, I wonder also how granular the jury's going to be. And I don't know if this is even necessarily a question of whether Jane was credible or not, as opposed to maybe other witnesses who testified, because there were opportunities for her to make it sound much worse, to make it more of a clear-cut case of force or fraud or coercion. She didn't. For example, she testified how she didn't really want to have sex with this guy that Combs brought over, who she claimed was sweaty and he smelled, and how Combs seemingly tried to encourage it, and that Combs, ended up having sex with her as the guy was hovering over her, and then he excuses him and brings somebody else in. I mean, to really make it sound worse, and if she really was, what the defense maybe will say is, oh, she's only out to get Diddy, she could have said, oh, he forced me against my will to have sex with him. And that, I didn't quite get that. I mean, it's pretty disturbing to say the least. You're around the guy you don't want to be with and he's hovering over you. It doesn't take away from that. And you go back to something else that I wanted to mention as well. Whether manipulation and financial control are elements of sex trafficking, right? So when she complained about being used for sex, Combs apparently responded in a text
I
that she
agree.
was throwing sex in my face and saying, let's just be friends. She apparently responds, I don't throw sex in your face.
Bring a trafficking, naturally Nolans. I think what we need now is a trafficking therapist who deal with that mindset. How some people don't realize that they have been trafficked. They have a different type of therapy for that. I think it would be bravo for that to be included, right? Because even with our mindset of how people who have not been groomed or trafficked can at least try to understand the illness of it all. Yeah, because I don't think we the people have enough empathy for that. what we think trafficking is, what we think racketeering is. It has evolved. It has intensified, right? It's to the 10th power now. And again, it's not just grabbing someone and putting them, forcing them into the white van. I'm not saying it don't happen like that, but it has intensified beyond that as well, right? And sometimes the predator is right there with you in your home. That you have an affection, a love affair, you know, a different type of bond, you know. That person, that's why he asked that girl. I wouldn't be surprised if Cassie had told Diddy some story long time ago about her grandfather Pop for him to bring up what you call your grandfather. What did you call him? Pop. Yeah, then from now on, my name is Pop. Why did he gravitate to Pop? You know, he chimed into something that she had told him about her grandfather, and he took on that role as Pop. Yeah, that's psychic. That's what they do. They get into your innermost trust, your innermost pain, and they manipulate it. Yeah, they need to come back. Let's go.
Shit up on me. You're making me feel used right now, and now you're breaking up with me? And then about financial control, she claimed that Combs paid her rent, discouraged her from making her own money through OnlyFans. So, you know, you're talking about financial control, alleged manipulation, and then allegedly controlled her appearance, including paying for her to get...
You know, and it's just like when I tapped into the video yesterday, and I was thinking that I was finding the video that will told us of that 50 been knowing that she was one of his triple X workers, not realizing, or maybe I had forgot their domestic situation long time ago. So when he would throw up at Jane Doe about her boyfriend or her baby daddy, you know, they already had a domestic issue. So then we hear today that she has had several relationships that were domestic. So guess what he did? He went right off into that innermost trust. She, you know, he threw it up in her face, and then he became that person that she talked to him or trusted him, and then he became the same thing. That's how they do. Yeah.
Because he didn't like her teeth, that he wanted her to get piercings, which apparently she did. She claims she actually developed an infection as a result of it. So the financial control, the alleged manipulation, the control of appearance, these are the opening paragraphs of the government's indictment. When they talk about how Combs engaged in a pattern of abusing women and forcing them into sex acts as part of racketeering, do you think that those are compelling aspects of her testimony?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, like I said, the elements are there. It's just a matter of getting past some of the distasteful aspects as well as some of the things that might be perturbing and feel counter to human nature, right? But it's all there. It's all textbook in terms of making sure that she had no way to escape, that she didn't have her own money stashed away or anything like that to be able to be like, you know what? No, I'm moving on. He's making sure to control all of that, which is classic domestic violence. And that's also factors into the whole coercion aspect, because again, if you don't have any other options and he's forcing you to do something you would want to do, there we are. So I think those aspects are going to be strong for the prosecution.
And, you know, she texted him apparently complaining that she hadn't seen him alone outside of a hotel room or a hotel night. And Combs apparently responded, well, get over it, please. Look at the roof over your head and that pretty smile. I don't want to do anything if that's still an issue. So something to think about there. Okay, let's put sex trafficking to the side. Now I want to talk about racketeering. So for racketeering, it's essentially Combs allegedly operated a criminal enterprise using his business and his staff to commit crimes and cover them up in this systematic abuse of women that went on for years. And the prosecution needs to prove at least 2 underlying crimes: sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, possession and distribution of narcotics and controlled substances. Take your pick. Well, Melba, the assistants, the security, allegedly setting up hotel rooms, the travel, carrying cash, his former chief of staff, Christina Coram, helping with Jane's piercing. Has Jane's testimony about this, does it help with that element of racketeering?
I think it does. I think it does because the drug use, because remember, she didn't get the.
When you're in Illinois, 2 wheels can take you a world away. Flying is the new walking, and
It does. I think it does because the drug use, because remember, she didn't get the drugs herself. It was always Diddy or his team that got her the drugs and all of that. So you've got the drug trafficking. And again, you've got all the aspects of moving around in order to do these hotel nights, which again lends itself to sex trafficking. So I think that she helps. Now, is she the linchpin in the prosecution's case in terms of proving racketeering? No. But she is one building block by, again, showing the depths to which Christina Coram was engaged in all of these acts and in terms of orchestrating and managing and all of that and her level of awareness and how much Diddy's organization was involved in each of these aspects on a day-to-day basis, which again, it's harder to argue that this is not racketeering because you're involving your company in your day-to-day personal life in this matter. It's not just, okay, yeah, I'm getting a flight for you and your girlfriend. It's, I'm getting a flight for sex workers to come to do a freak off. You can't tell me that they don't know what's going on, right? So clearly he's using his businesses, he's using his employees to be able to further these hotel nights, these freak offs and all of that. So again, I think you have it there. But at the end of the day, I think the prosecution already has RICO from Kid Cudi, from the blowing up of the car, because that's arson, and Capricorn Clark, because he held a gun to her head and told her she couldn't leave, which is armed kidnapping. So everything else to me at this juncture is gravy.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, I think the more the better, right? The more the better that they sell. The jury options, right? Give the jury options for predicate crimes. But let's talk about that. So in terms of the underlying predicate crimes, we already discussed sex trafficking. Put that to the side. But here's one. Jane testified that these hotel nights were like work. Is that forced labor or no? Because she's not necessarily an employee.
She's not an employee, yeah. So I don't think it's forced labor. I think you get forced labor. I thought it might have been a stretch. Clark, yeah, Capricorn Clark and
David James.
Right, you remember when one of the security guards told him, you know what rhymes with tired? Fired. So
and Mia, so if you're saying this is his assistant that he allegedly sexually assaulted, yeah, I could see that might support forced labor. Okay, let me ask you this. Drug offenses. You need co-conspirators for racketeering conspiracy. So Jane testified how assistants would bring drugs and security would bring drugs. She testified that she carried drugs. She transported drugs for Combs from LA to Miami, that Christina Coram allegedly helped arrange this too. That's co-conspirators for the drug offenses, the underlying drug offenses for racketeering?
Absolutely, absolutely, without a question to me, because again, they knew what they were doing. They went, they got the drugs, not for themselves, but at the behest of Diddy in some way, shape, or form, whether it was Diddy directly saying it or Diddy telling Christina and Christina going ahead and telling them to do it. But regardless, it came through the organization from the top. The order is get cocaine or get ecstasy or ketamine or whatever it is, because there's a freak off, his hotel night, whatever the case may be. So, yeah.
Let me wrap this up in conclusion.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
In conclusion, after arguably problematic witnesses like Brianna Bagolin, whose story of getting dangled off a 17-story balcony had been really seemingly countered with digital evidence, travel receipts, her own problematic text messages, Mia, too, who claimed that she was sexually assaulted by Combs, but then wrote him these loving messages. And again, there's always another side. There's always a way to explain trauma and why people might stay in touch with the people who abuse them or write loving messages. There's always an alternative explanation. Not the cleanest case for the prosecution, not the cleanest witnesses for the prosecution. Having said all that, after they testified, as of right now, and there's more testimony to go,
it's Monday,
is Jane the best witness to call to prove their case?
I don't think she was the best, but the reality is when you're putting together a case of this magnitude and of this scale, you're going to have a mixed bag of witnesses. You're going to have some strong ones. You're going to have some amazing ones who are really going to bring the case home for you. And you're going to have some that might be a little bit of, again, they give you a little bit, but they not exactly the best. But the reality is, very rarely do you have a trial where your witnesses are a nun, a priest, and a rabbi, right? The reality is, it's people, and I've said this in closing arguments a bunch of times, like, be great to bring the Pope in, right? But the Pope is generally not going to be a witness to certain types of things. It's going to be the people that are in the mix, and sometimes your best witness is a drug dealer. Sometimes your best witness is, a sex worker, whatever the case may be, just because you don't particularly like them, the way they live their life, or whatever the case may be, does not mean they're not telling the truth, does not mean they're not credible witnesses. So you got to work with the hand you're dealt, and I think the prosecution is doing the best they can with what they have. I will say one thing, though, in terms of the Breonna testimony, because I came away at the end of her testimony like, yeah, the defense did a really great job on cross, but when they brought that expert in that brought up the text message that was a deleted text message from Cassie, basically in real time saying, hey, something horrible happened. I didn't actually see it, but I think he dangled somebody off the balcony. I got to get away. I think that actually rehabilitated Breonna's testimony to an extent. So
yeah,
there's also...
we could have a separate conversation because they said that the metadata from the photos of her injuries indicated those photos were taken before the attack, that Combs was not in LA when this was going on. Again, what did Cassie see or hear versus, actually seeing or hearing herself? You could also make the argument, since they're not the cleanest of witnesses, it shows their credibility. Like I said, if they really wanted to get Combs, make it sound worse. I don't know, complicated situation. Melba Pearson, great seeing you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube.
Let's see. I got a couple of more I got to get in before we end tonight. Is that okay, y'all?
He is chasing her, grabs her, puts her in a headlock.
Let's see who he said the winner and the losers are, and then I got two
Hey
more.
everybody, Charles here, and welcome to your
Is that okay?
recap of the 19th day
Are y'all okay
of the
with
Diddy
that?
trial. And Jane's testimony continued today with something really explosive, a description of something, and I know this is going to be hard to believe, but at least from the description, that Cassie beating video that we have all seen and we've all been horrified by, with good reason, that beating does not compare to something that Jane described, a fight that she and Diddy got into where they are both punching each other. It is really brutal. We're going to get to that in a moment. But the day started with the mistrial and the judge addressing what we told you happened over the weekend, that Diddy's attorneys had filed for a mistrial, accusing the prosecutors of intentionally putting someone on the stand, that person being Cassie.
Can y'all still hear me?
And having her tell what they believe is a lie about this incident where Diddy allegedly hung Breonna Bongolan over the 17th story balcony. And the lie they claim in the mistrial filing is that Cassie, when she was on the stand, said that she...
Can y'all still hear me? Give me a 1 if y'all can still hear me. Am I buffing? I must be buffing. Oh my goodness, y'all must not be able to hear me. Oh my goodness. Am I buffing? Oh, can y'all not hear me? Oh my goodness. We're almost. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I guess I need to end it. Oh, okay, Helen, I see you now.
Did he do this
Why
to
y'all
Brianna?
not
Well, when
responding?
Brianna testified, she said that Cassie was home. This happened at Cassie's apartment. Cassie was home, but she did not come out and actually see anything until after Diddy had pulled Brianna back over the balcony and thrown her into some deck furniture. So there was also this text message where Cassie says to Christina Coram,
Yeah, I
Diddy's
almost
chief of
ended
staff,
it because I didn't
says
think
to
y'all could
her,
hear me.
look, I just found out something really shocking that happened. So the fact that she's saying she found it out does not sound like she was there witnessing it. And they believe that this is prejudicing the jury and that you had someone commit perjury. They say, they contend that it is Cassie who lied because Cassie did not actually see this. So we will see what the judge said this morning, that prosecution will get a chance to respond to that, and then he will make his decision on whether there's a mistrial on Tuesday morning. So tomorrow is a big, big day. As for the rest of the day's testimony, once the jury came in, Jane was back on the stand. This is Diddy's ex, who was testifying under that pseudonym. And she talked about being with him on the day that the lawsuit was filed, that Cassie filed the lawsuit. Actually, not being with him on the day the lawsuit was filed, but reading
Thank
the
you,
lawsuit
Naturally
after it had been
Norland.
filed. And remember, it was settled the day after Cassie filed this. She and Diddy reached an agreement, and she got $30 million. But Jane says she was reading the lawsuit, and she told Diddy that it was very upsetting to her because it felt like she was reading her own story. And she said that there were so many things in Cassie's lawsuit that felt like events that she had gone through. And then she also talked about being with him the day the Cassie tape was released, the hotel beating tape was released, and watching the lawyers come in, watching staff members huddle around him, family members huddle around, talking about how they were going to go forward here. She says that she even saw his first draft when he was doing his apology video, what he was going to say. So she talked about all of that. And while it was upsetting, she did say that they were sort of on a break after Cassie's lawsuit. And they finally did come back together around Jane's birthday in February the next year. And she talks about feeling like this was going to be different, this was better. But she ultimately said, yes, there were more hotel nights, as she puts it. Cassie called them freak-offs. She calls them hotel nights. And that this even continued after the raids went down. Now, she says after the raids at Diddy's homes, they would no longer go to hotels, but they would do it at his home or her home. And there was one night in particular that she talked about that was in June of 2024. And this was actually, the date was June 18th. And this is this huge fight that they got into, that just to read her description of this, it sounded to me like, if you've seen the old movie The Shining, when Jack Nicholson is chasing down his wife and breaks through the door with the axe and says, "Here's Johnny." That's what, and I don't mean to laugh about it. In the movie, you can laugh about it, but what Jane described is really horrifying. And she says that they were having a pleasant evening. They showed photos of the dinner that had been laid out. There were candles, and she thought it was going to be a nice romantic night at home. But she said about 30 minutes into this, they had been having some champagne, they had some tequila, and things got a little touchy at first because he had been on a trip to Utah, and Jane said, "Who were you on this trip with?" Accused him of being with another woman. And what she was really upset about is that he continues, and she talked about this all day, that he continually would take other women, she believes, on these trips, and she would never go on those trips. She was only really, she felt, there to have these encounters with other men. So she says she confronts him about this and actually called him a pedophile. Said that she very quickly made it clear she didn't mean that the woman that she was accusing him of being with was under 18, but she was, as she put it, 27 years his junior, not yet able to buy alcohol legally, and she felt like that was like being a pedophile, and that started a huge fight between them. She admits that she pushed his head into the kitchen counter, and that when he bent over to tie his shoe, and she pushed his head into the kitchen counter, and that started this massive fight where she says Diddy then starts chasing after her. She says that he kicked through a bedroom door, and then she hid in the bathroom, and he kicked down the bathroom door and is going after her. At one point, she goes into a closet, and he is chasing her, grabs her, puts her in a headlock. She finally escapes from this closet, so she manages to change her clothes, and then she runs down the block from her home, 6 blocks away, and hides behind a wall, and stays behind this wall for 2 hours, and then goes back to the house. And when she goes back to the house, she says that Diddy is still there, and there's more fighting that goes on. She says he eventually kicks through a guest room door.
Deb.
I mean, the way she's describing it, there's no place she can hide, and this fight keeps going on and on and on. Eventually, she ends up going in to take a shower, and she says he comes into the shower. He has pants on, she's naked, she's looked in the mirror, she's seen welts developing on her eye, and that he comes into the shower, according to her, slaps her 3 times, and tells her to just put some ice on it, and leaves her in the shower. It is a horrible, horrible scene that she has painted, if it is true. Now, this is her testimony. Again, she's going to be cross-examined tomorrow, and I would imagine there are going to be some challenges from Diddy's team about this story, but it really did just paint this brutal, brutal story from that night. Now, what's interesting, after that night, she does say she goes back to him the next week, and this is a pattern that continues. She says up through August, that is when they had their last sexual encounter with another entertainer, as she puts it. Now, her going back and continually going back to him, we heard this with Cassie, and there was all the debate about whether she should have just left him. Now, she's saying she's going back because she loved him, and that's what she, wanted to be with him. But every time she goes back, she says she ends up having another one of these sexual encounters with other men that she didn't really want to have. That's what she's said all along. This is going to be really critical tomorrow when she is cross-examined, because she does admit this as well, that even though she went back to Diddy every time, what would end up happening, and she described at least 2 occasions where they would be together, she would take ecstasy, he would give her either a pill or sometimes it was in liquid form, and that she would then suddenly, in one case, she said she missed one of the entertainers. She turned to Diddy after taking the ecstasy and said, "I miss Paul." And he says, "You want to get him over here?" And he calls up Paul. They get Paul there. There's another time they flew someone in, Don, that she missed. So she is asking him, she's, according to her own testimony, initiating these instances where they are having these sexual encounters, which she said she didn't want to have, but yet she's initiating it. I would think that she's going to say the ecstasy had something to do with that. I don't know, but that is going to be critical when she is cross-examined, because this is really about whether or not Diddy was sex trafficking Jane. This isn't really about the RICO charge so much. And so, as far as we've heard so far, it's not about that. This is about the sex trafficking. It's also about transporting individuals for purposes of prostitution. There have been several times that she has mentioned them doing that, flying people in for these sexual encounters. So the sex trafficking part, though, that's got to be coercion. And there is even a moment where she says that Diddy used the word, and this was in the summer of 2024, that Diddy used the word coercion. She said she didn't want to do a sexual act with one of these men, and then she took the ecstasy, and Diddy asked her, according to her, is this coercion? And interestingly, after he asked that, she still went through with the sexual act with this other man. So cross-examination with Jane is going to be really critical. We will see where that goes. We're also going to find out tomorrow about the mistrial. But this Jane certainly has revealed a lot about their relationship that we just had no idea all this is going on. And going on so late into 2024, just a month before he was arrested. So who are the winners and losers today? The winner is the prosecution. And, you know, as far as the sex trafficking, I think, you know, Jane has certainly painted a picture of every time she's with him, it is purely for those purposes. Now, again, like I said, the big question is going to be, was she willing? Was she doing this willingly? She has said that there are many times she didn't want to do it and felt forced into it.
That's all it takes.
Although, then the question is going to be, was she forced to take the ecstasy? Did she do it willingly?
Okay, that's enough.
All of that will be cleared up, I hope.
Okay, because I got a couple, is this one it?
Security searches to extortion to alleged violence. What exactly happened in court today, and how does it fit into the overall case? We have learned a lot more about the complicated relationship between Sean Diddy Combs and
I'm trying to see if this is the one that we've already watched.
Case. From audio tapes to text to payments to Homeland Security searches to extortion to alleged violence. What exactly happened in court today, and how does it fit into the overall case? Let's talk to our in-court reporter, Law and Crime's Elizabeth Milner, to get to the bottom.
Let's see if this is for the afternoon.
Presented by Law and Crime, I'm Jesse Weber. Hey everybody, this is another Law and Crime legal alert. If you received Depo-Provera birth control shots and were later diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor called meningitis, so much for taking the time. I feel like a large portion of the beginning of the day, for the first few hours, was dedicated to the prosecution asking her to elaborate and explain her reluctance to engage in these sex acts. And it becomes a question of whether or not it was her as a girlfriend or partner who just didn't want to do this, or, you know, as part of a relationship issue, or whether
I think she found out when he started paying for her rent that she was not going to be a girlfriend.
To induce her into engaging
that
in
it was
commercial
a sex
acts
thing.
with men in all different cities. So, Elizabeth, what was the testimony from the first few hours today about this reluctance?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of text messages that were shown specifically to the jurors and the witness and the parties. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see them in the gallery because of a pre-existing order whenever Jane was to take the stand, and that has been going on since last week. So we haven't been able to see exhibits, I want to say, since last Thursday. But we're hearing these text messages as AUSA Marine Comey and even Jane herself are just kind of reading through a number of these text messages, either from her and Diddy, between herself and the escorts. But as far as just her and Diddy goes, you know, right off the bat, as we had started this morning, we see a text message between Jane and Diddy from September 15th of 2023, where Jane was texting Diddy on these different phones because he has more than one phone, and Jane would say, should we start looking for Sunday night flights? And Jane said, love and miss you, mine's forever. And Diddy's responding, send me some SHIT of you being a bad girl. And Jane believed that those messages about her sending him something was for her to send sexually explicit videos to Diddy, and Diddy had responded, "When is the earliest you can get here?" Jane says that she didn't want to send this particular video, and Diddy said something along the lines of, "The F, I'm asking you to do this. I have the phones," and those phones being with the phones that they have of explicit videos together. Diddy said, "Stop it, don't say no to me," and Jane says, "Well, I'm traveling with our phone," and Jane says that Diddy would record on his two phones, and then his assistants and staff had easy access to it, so they had this separate phone to record their sexually explicit videos together. And Jane was saying in these messages, "That phone doesn't look," and I'm paraphrasing here because they go by so fast when they're kind of saying these out loud, and Jane had said, "You're using our vids to get erect with someone else," and Diddy said, "Bye, I was asking you to send something, good night." Jane says, "Well, I'm not going to New York, you're texting me so that way you can get erect for somebody else." And Jane says that she saw on a podcast that he was bragging essentially about having sex for 48 hours completely with someone else. And so Diddy had told her that no sex was involved on this trip, where he was going on this podcast with another person, another woman that Diddy was seeing, and just kind of bragging about this. And this 48-hour trip that he was kind of talking about was on a yacht, and that Diddy told her that he was going to take her on this specific trip, and that Jane agreed to do a hotel night after he had promised her to take her on this trip, and that he ended up not taking her on the trip. So it seems like it's kind of going possibly into the prosecution's argument, which they believe it's sex trafficking by fraud, where he was promising her to do these things and then she would comply with it, but then he would end up not like taking her out on like special dinners or anything like that. And you kind of can see both sides of this, right? Like where, okay, is it a crime for a man to lie to you? Not necessarily, but according to the prosecution and their argument, they think because that she was complying and doing these hotel nights, that kind of played into their kind of theory of the case. And so then we see more exhibits, text messages from Jane and Diddy, where Diddy is saying, "What happened? I'm sad what happened." Jane is saying, "Well, I don't want to be used and locked in a room to fulfill your fantasies." We see we hear about an exhibit from September 16th of that same year of 2023. But this one is a note from Jane's notes app, where she says that she kind of just writes out her feelings similar to diary entries, and then sometimes will kind of copy and paste send them as a text message, where Jane did just that, where she had said, "As much as I want to see you, I don't want to be treated like a hoe in a hotel room." And Jane was explaining that she was just writing out her feelings. And so then we hear about more texts between Jane and Diddy, where Jane is saying, "I don't want to be used, locked in a hotel room. I'm starting to realize what this is." And Diddy's saying, "Girl, that was podcast talk. I was alone. I'm tired of your false accusations. I promised on Baby Love," who was his youngest daughter, "I didn't have sex." And Jane was saying that wasn't podcast talk, and saying that you made Papa proud. And this was kind of in reference to this podcast where Diddy was kind of talking about this 48 hours of sex, essentially. And Diddy had said, "Bye, always tripping around me." And so then we kind of see more text exhibits where Jane was saying that she wanted to go back to when they first started dating. She said, "I opened Pandora's box. She can't seem to close it." She said, "One night of fun turned into our entire relationship. I'm crying as I'm writing this." And Diddy is responding, "Stop, girl, let's talk." And then he sends her an audio message, and then Diddy can be heard on this particular audio message. So the jury is hearing this. We're hearing this out loud inside the courtroom, where Diddy has kind of this raspy voice, and he's saying that he was sick in bed.
Hey, Cherie.
You've probably heard about Boxable's flagship product, the Casita.
Was sick in bed. The message you sent me, what's the problem? We have an actual open relationship. What's the problem? And Diddy never brought up kind of her concerns about doing these hotel nights. Instead, he just never talked about it in this particular audio message. And so Diddy ended up calling her on a FaceTime and told her what she wanted to hear. That's what she testified to. And Jane testified, "He said a lot of things that I like to hear, that he loves me, that he missed me, that he wanted to see me." And so Jane ended up agreeing to go to New York. And this was a trip to New York in September of 2023, where she thought that she was going just for alone time with her boyfriend. And then what ended up being alone time with her boyfriend actually turned into them messaging Cabral, who was an escort that they had used often in their freak-offs. And then Cabral was flown out from Atlanta, Georgia, over here to New York, and that Jane participated in this freak-off with Diddy and, with Cabral as Diddy kind of watched, and that was what it ended up happening. And so we saw a lot of text messages where she was really just kind of explaining her frustration as far as why
He has
Diddy
no
was
respect for
treating her
women.
this way, and
I mean,
making
no,
her out to
none
be
at
kind
all.
of someone who was only
I,
used to
I
fulfill
went
his
in on that in
fantasies
the
as opposed to
beginning.
the other women that he was kind of taunting out there, kind of to what she was kind of describing in her face a little bit, where she was kind of kept a secret, and that her job essentially was to hire these other men or to bring these other men for their hotel nights or debauchery nights. And so we saw a lot of text messages from around that time frame where she seemed to be very vocal about voicing her opinion on that she didn't want to do it. But then I think kind of where that area is where maybe it kind of confused the jury is that even afterwards she still did it. And so I feel like when cross-examination eventually happens, that they'll really kind of be like, okay, well, you continue to do this even after you said you didn't want to do this, and you said this, but you did that. And so overall, a lot of text messages were shown that really kind of voiced Jane's opinion about just not wanting to do these hotel nights anymore.
Yeah, I saw there was some reporting where she allegedly said, "I'm not a porn star. These experiences are desensitizing sex for me. It's been 3 years of me having to bleep strangers." There was another, "You pair me up with some random man, any bleep for your own sick sexual." And there were parts where it looked, I mean, I wonder if the jury will accept, was he threatening her directly, indirectly? I mean, I believe there was one message, "You're burning a bridge that you're going to need tomorrow," and we know that financial control is a big part of this, gifts, cash, rent. But I have to tell you, Elizabeth, my jaw hit the floor. I think a big controversial moment, if we're trying to understand whether or not she was a willing participant or consented to this, didn't she write in a text message to Sean Combs that she consented in the videos of these sexual encounters? Because we know, according to her testimony, that Sean Combs have recorded some certain of these sex acts, and he basically said what? That if people look at these videos, they'll see it was consensual. Didn't she agree with that, or I might be completely wrong?
So Jane was kind of vocalizing just her displeasure of having to do these wild debauchery nights or hotel nights just with other men, that she always wanted to be having sex with her partner, and her partner being Sean Combs. So she messaged Diddy saying that you place these harmful men on me, and Diddy had responded, "Well, talk to God, I'm gonna pray for you, you're burning a bridge that you aren't prepared to pay for." And Jane said that in the text that she knew that she had consented to being on this tape, but she said she was uncomfortable, but she kept doing this because she loved Diddy, and that Diddy kind of even threw in her face that she appeared to be enjoying it. She appeared to be excited even while she was on these freak-off tapes or these sexually explicit videos. And Jane says, "Well, I'm sorry, I want to feel better," and that was in reference to her just feeling uncomfortable throughout this entire process. And so Jane admitted while she was on the stand that she did watch her own freak-off tapes, and she said that I was being high and following a pattern in the majority of these tapes. It was like watching the same show over and over again. And so this was kind of at a point in, I guess, her and Diddy's relationship where she was really just kind of telling him that she didn't want to be doing these hotel nights anymore, and that the videos were kind of thrown back into her face. But it seems like from her perspective, while she was on the stand, I should say, that she didn't feel as comfortable as maybe the video may have portrayed her to look as more comfortable and consenting in this process.
Yeah, I wonder how much the jury is going to wrestle with the idea. Did she vocalize enough her perceived lack of consent? You know, there was a part of it where she talked about in her notes app, she said she was having PTSD, but was that properly communicated to Sean Combs? It's important for a legal analysis. Now, there was another change in her testimony because she had testified she's having these problems with Sean Combs, right? They're back and forth on this. And then Cassandra Ventura files her lawsuit in November 2023. What was her reaction to Cassie's lawsuit? And what did she communicate to Sean Combs after that lawsuit came out?
And so I will say this about the prosecution when they were kind of laying this out to get eventually to Cassie's lawsuit, is they were kind of showing us piece by piece, month by month, all these text exhibits, or we were hearing about these text exhibits, the jury actually saw them, but just about how Jane was uncomfortable that by doing these hotel nights, right? But then we get to Cassie's lawsuit, and I was really kind of surprised to hear Jane's reaction while she was on the stand about Cassie's lawsuit, because even in reference before where her and Diddy would get in kind of these verbal spats with one another where Jane would kind of throw out, I'm no Gina, I'm no Cassie. And so I thought, okay, well, once we get to Cassie's lawsuit, maybe she didn't have the nicest things to say about Cassie in reference to her lawsuit. But as far as Jane is concerned, it was actually the opposite of what I was initially thinking. So when we get to the part about Cassie's lawsuit, Jane was explaining that it was all over the place. I almost fainted. In fact, I think I did. And then Maureen Comia asked, well, why? And she says, because there were 3 specific pages that were just harrowing. And mind you, when Jane's on the stand, she is very soft-spoken. Sometimes when she's like testifying, I'm just kind of like, oh my goodness, I need to hear you a little bit louder. But she's very soft-spoken when she's on the stand. But Jane was explaining that she read the entire complaint and that she said these pages resembled my own experience. I was bewildered. I was in shock. I couldn't sleep. It felt like a nightmare. And so the jury was able to see an exhibit of Cassie's lawsuit that was filed on November 16th of 2023. Jane said previously she did meet Cassie a couple times, but in passing. She said it was around the 2015-ish time frame. So that's notably when she was when Cassie was still with Diddy. And the two had met at a fashion show and at a Father's Day celebration. But the two never spoke outside of just meeting each other in passing years before she had even filed her lawsuit, that being Cassie. But Jane was saying that she had a lot of sympathy. She says, I can't believe I'm reading my own story. And that was in reference to Jane talking about Cassie's lawsuit. And then this is when she's kind of getting emotional on the stand, a little choked up here, where Jane was explaining that she texted Diddy after. So we heard about a text message. This from November 17th of 2023. It was between Jane and it was between Diddy. So that was the day after Cassie had filed her lawsuit, but also the same day that lawsuit was settled, but also the same day the federal government opened their investigation into Diddy. So a lot's kind of going on in that day unknowingly to Jane. But the text from Diddy said, SMH, I'm stressed and sad. We're supposed to be on the same page. Jane said, well, how can we both be on the same page? And then she was saying that she had to go to the doctor. And then Jane, a couple days later on November 19th, she said, I've been crying for 3 days. I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. You recently threw me up in a hotel for days. God woke me up from this sick trauma. And again, I'm paraphrasing here. There was a lot more in this message where Jane was explaining, I feel manipulated. This was sexual exploitation. You knew this was coming. You made me feel gaslit. You made me feel crazy. Because also remember around this time, everyone, Jane was texting Diddy that she was starting to feel very uncomfortable doing these hotel nights and felt like that was the only thing that she was being used for. Then Diddy, a couple days after she had sent that message about crying for 3 days, Diddy said, call me on this phone. It's important. So then there was an exhibit that we heard about. It's from November 19th of 2023. It was a file. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe it's an audio note, it's a voice note, but it was a recording of a phone call. And so you hear Diddy picking up this phone, or at least answering on this phone saying hello. And then it's weird because it kind of sounds like they're in a car. It sounds like they're outside. It was kind of weird to at first initially listen to this.
What do you
I'm trying to
think
write
is
down
wrong
everything that
with
Diddy is saying to her. And he is saying, I'm sorry you feel this way. I know we can't talk on these phones. I called and reached out to you. Sorry you feel this way. It was some kinky SHIT. I thought,
honestly, I
don't
think,
want you to feel this way. I'm not
oh, that's
supposed
that
to talk on the
museum.
phone. And then you can hear Jane saying, I've been crying for 3 days, reading it all
I think
word
it's
for
his
word. But what's
upbringing,
interesting,
and I
Jesse, is
also
that
think it's
this
the
was a
industry.
recorded phone call between
I think that he has been touched, and I think he was broke in, coming in, and that's the reason why Suge Knight wants him to tell on other people. I think that he's a part of that boule, or
talking specifically about Cassie. And so Jane was saying on this recording, well, I'm just effed up
and I
right
think
now. It
that
still bothers me.
he played with the devil, and he got pulled away way in too deep.
Jane had testified that she heard Diddy writing with a Sharpie and a notepad on this recording. So possibly insinuating that he was taking some notes and writing down what she was saying. And so we hear this on the recording, just kind of the scratching of what she says was like a Sharpie pen onto a notepad. And then Diddy's on this recording saying, well, I'm here to help you. You know what I'm saying? Try and take a deep breath, okay? How can
I think he in too deep.
This was some
And I think that it had began to control him. I think he already had issues with his sexuality. Probably at the All Boys home, and his mom
him,
and
which is ironic
being
given the
a
fact that
madam,
Jane was the one who was
just a
unknowingly
mixture of
reported on.
things.
And so
But it's his
Diddy
sister
was
like
saying,
that.
yeah, and so Diddy was saying that he
Hell,
can't
was
talk
it
on
his
this
sister who
phone, and
touched
Jane was
him?
saying
I don't know.
that she had told Diddy that we were just talking about this, that being the sexual trauma that she experienced, and then obviously with Cassie's lawsuit, it really brought
Oh
out
yeah,
more
he's sick.
things.
And
then
he's a
Diddy's
narcissist. You
on this
right.
recording saying, well, you bought me the videotape to look at what we do. Can you get some sleep and we'll talk to you later, or later talk to KK. I need your support,
Yeah.
please, if you need anything.
And I don't
call,
think he like
He
women.
said, I need your support, please. If you need anything
I
else,
think he
call
was.
KK. And then Jane and Diddy
He
spoke
has
on
a.
the phone
I
that
don't.
day. We
I
hear
don't think
another
he like his
recording,
mama. I don't know
from the
his
same day,
relationship with
November
his
19th of
sister.
2023.
I
Still
think
same
he.
instance where Jane didn't know she was being recorded, and Diddy can be heard on this
I just
recording
think
saying,
it's a
I
whole
really need
bunch
your
of
friendship right now. I called you back to make sure you're breathing.
mixed up in
You
there.
know, you
But
don't
I
have
do
to worry
think
about
that he
nothing else,
was
nothing else. It's fine
butt
about
up
her rent, her
then.
financial situation. And then Diddy said, please
But
pray
that
for
could
me.
have
I'll pray
started
for
with
you.
the
I need your
the
friendship. And so it was kind of interesting to hear this. I mean,
Father,
you know, for us
Rabbi
in the press
John.
and the media, we've all heard Diddy's voice. I think for the jurors, I'm always wondering what's
I
going
wouldn't
on
be
in their head when
surprised
they're
if he
hearing this
has not
recording,
slept with
because
his
as
mom.
much as, you know, the defendant was a little animated
Allegedly.
sometimes prior to
I
the
wouldn't be
judge kind of
surprised at none of
admonishing
that.
him, you really never hear from him. And so I'm wondering all the time when we hear him through his
Because
mouth, through
he's
his words,
sick with it.
allegedly. I'm always wondering what's kind of going through their mind as they're kind of hearing this. Before what I even saw of them, Jesse, it seemed like they were just kind of listening to all of this in, and
He
or
real
excuse me,
sick
listening
with
to
it.
this and taking it all in.
Well, I wonder if an argument could be made that will be probably made by the prosecution. He did this purposely because he had consciousness of guilt. He knew the Cassie lawsuit. He knew other people could come forward and say something. And he was basically trying to have her on tape, maybe acting like he didn't know this was being recorded, but having her on tape, taking notes. Everything was consensual. This was just freaky, right?
Right.
Well,
He
good,
did that
you know,
on
I'm here
purpose.
for you. You know, again, that could backfire and be quite problematic in the eyes of the jury. Him recognizing that he needs to get everybody else on the same page to say that nothing bad happened.
Right.
And that, you know, because he realizes that this could be quite
Coercion.
problematic. And it seems to me, because we found out that she was basically with him until weeks before his arrest, she was there for
His sister's
another
very quiet,
important
and
event.
she's married
Didn't she
to
testify
someone in the
that she
industry.
was there when CNN published the hotel
Yeah, because
surveillance
R.
footage
Kelly's sister
of him
molested him,
purportedly beating up Cassie
allegedly.
Ventura, and was also
So you know,
there for his
all that
planned
incest and
response,
stuff like
and
that.
was also there, or was
His
and-
mama
I mean, I
weird.
think it came out
He
today.
weird.
His Instagram apology that he released 2 days after the tape was published by CNN. She was a part of all that, right? She was there for all that.
Yeah, honestly, Jesse, in my notes when they finally played the apology video that I've been thinking that they were going to play possibly even on day one of trial, I wrote finally, literally finally with 4 exclamation points. I'm like, when are they going to show the jury this apology video? But yes, around this time, it was May of 2024, CNN released the
So they
video of
played
the
it today.
Intercontinental
She's the
Hotel
first
incident,
person I've
and
heard say
she was
that.
explaining that around this time that she was over at Diddy's home in Miami at 2-Star. Yeah, honestly, Jesse, in my notes when they finally played the apology video that I've been thinking that they were going to play possibly even on day one of trial, I wrote finally, literally finally with 4 exclamation points. I'm like, when are they going to show the jury this apology video? But yes, around this time, it was May of 2024, CNN released the video of the Intercontinental Hotel incident, and Jane was explaining that around this time that she was over at Diddy's home in Miami at 2-Star Island, and that they were just sleeping. Then one of his sons knocked on the door and said something is happening, and so then Diddy leaves kind of the bedroom area where they were laying down. And then Jane ended up taking kind of her phone out to see what was going on. And she said, well, all I saw was Sean assaulting Cassie in a hotel. And then Jane was explaining that she had watched the video that CNN released, and that what ended up happening is Diddy invited Jane into a huddle where they could kind of, from what she was describing it, as kind of like a PR thing. It felt like that they were trying to find a way to kind of get out there in front of this, come up with some type of response, and that response ended up being a social media video. But to me, I thought it was interesting just the amount of planning and the drafts that this particular video went through before it was published on Instagram, and then obviously it's no longer there. But Jane was explaining that they were trying to come up with this very sincere apology post. They didn't play the video at this point, but then Jane was explaining that the next day Diddy showed Jane a draft of what he would say. In the draft, I thought this was pretty interesting, is that Diddy did address Cassie by name. I think when the video was actually released, a lot of us were like, notably, he did not say her name, but there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in just a second. But Diddy
She is the first one that's breaking this down.
video, and it's no longer there, but Jane was explaining that they were trying to come up with this very sincere apology post. They didn't play the video at this point, but then Jane was explaining that the next day Diddy showed Jane a draft of what he would say. In the draft, I thought this was pretty interesting, is that Diddy did address Cassie by name. I think when the video was actually released, a lot of us were like, notably, he did not say her name, but there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in just a second. But Diddy was telling Jane about the Cassie video and really kind of going in depth about it in June/July of 2024, and was explaining to Jane that Diddy said that this was the only time that Cassie and Diddy had a physical, violent altercation like that, and that Diddy had told Jane that Cassie was actually the hitter in this situation. Obviously, with Cassie's testimony, we know that not to be true, but Jane said that she gave Diddy final feedback on the apology video, and then she went back to LA, and then she saw the apology video, and then we hear the apology video, and the jurors finally see it. It's something that we at Law and Crime have seen a number of times, but I think for the most part, it presumably has been the jurors' first time seeing this video. And so then you hear Diddy say, you know, it's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times of your life. My behavior on that video was disgusting. I had to go to therapy. I had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry. And then Jane said that she didn't feel this apology was genuine, this particular apology video. And then there was a whole objection from the defense. The jury is dismissed. They're given a break. But then we kind of get into why there was an objection by the defense. And so the government came out and they were like, okay, we'll strike the last part of that answer where Jane was saying that she didn't feel like this apology video was genuine in terms of comparing it to the final draft that was posted versus the draft that she saw, where you do hear Cassie's name. I guess we didn't see that draft, nothing like that, but the draft that actually went out to the public didn't mention Cassie by name. But then the defense chimed in about that, and they were like, well, there was talk about naming Cassie by name. Agnifilo told this to Diddy around this time, because Mark Agnifilo was already Diddy's lawyer by this time. He told us in court today, but Mark Agnifilo was the one who was actually like, do not name Cassie in this apology video. Why? Because she's going to be a grand jury witness, and she likely was a grand jury witness around this time frame. And so the defense was like, well, this entire line of questioning is inappropriate. And the government said, well, this is relevant as it's going into kind of what ends up, what Jane ends up testifying to next as far as Diddy beating her. But the judge said, you know, I do see the relevance if Ms. Comey is talking about state of mind, but then the defense seems kind of like, okay, well, this is like a confidential discussion. This is privileged communication. And so then Maureen Comey was eventually like, okay, we'll strike it because I respect privilege issues. And so the jury was told to disregard that part about the video not appearing genuine. But when the jury came back from the break, they replayed that video once again. And Jane knew that this was in reference to the hotel video that we have now seen in the trial multiple times, and that the next time she saw Diddy after this video was released was not until June 18th of 2024. And from Jane's testimony today, that was a date that she specifically remembers. Just a lot of things happening, and a lot of things did happen according to her testimony. But she said after that apology video was released, kind of in May of 2024, then the next time she saw him was in the next month later, that being in June of 2024 too.
It's fascinating to see what was going on behind the scenes. We had always speculated, did he have any help? Was this planned? Was it spur of the moment? So just taking this testimony, it's fascinating to hear about it. Now, she also testified about being extorted. What happened there?
So what's interesting, Jesse, is this alleged extortion actually happened prior to the May 2024 CNN video release of the Intercontinental Hotel incident from 2016. And Jane was explaining this happened shortly after the HSI raids on Diddy's home in both Miami as well as Los Angeles. But I thought what was interesting is that Jane said that investigators even came to her front door. She saw this on a Ring camera video and said that the investigators left a card for her and that Diddy had paid for Jane's lawyers. And after
Oh,
Jane had
there it
sent a message
go.
to Hakeem, who had worked for Diddy at this point, and then he helped
Diddy
her get in
paid
touch
for
with
her
Diddy's lawyers. And then
lawyers.
what ended up happening is that the escort Cabral ended up calling Jane, saying that he was going to release the sex tapes on the dark web, presumably after he saw that these HSI raids were being conducted. Because remember that day, I remember that day very clearly, where it was just like kind of like
Oh,
all
hold
hands on
on.
deck. Diddy's home in both Miami as well as Los Angeles. But I thought what was interesting is that Jane said that investigators even came to her front door. She saw this on a Ring camera video and said that the investigators left a card for her, and that Diddy had paid for Jane's lawyers. And after Jane had sent a message to Hakeem, who had worked for Diddy at this point, and then he helped her get in touch with Diddy's lawyers. And then what ended up happening is that the escort Cabral ended up calling Jane, saying that he was going to release the
They had
sex tapes
drones
on
in the
dark web,
house.
presumably after he saw that these HSI raids were being conducted. Because remember that day, I remember that day very clearly, where it was just like kind of like all hands on deck. Diddy's homes are being raided, and so I presume that Cabral might have seen this on the news, and then he had called Jane, saying that he was going to release their sex tapes on the dark web, and that Diddy ended up picking up the wrong phone to record this hotel night or debauchery night, and ended up recording this sexually explicit video on Cabral's phone as opposed to Diddy's phone, where that was originally intended it to be. And so Jane was explaining that her heart was just beating so fast, and that Cabral wanted $10,000 for this video. And so Jane ended up calling Diddy to tell him that Cabral was extorting her. She's getting kind of emotional as she's talking about this, because she said a media company ended up calling her and saying that they bought this particular tape and that they were going to end up releasing it. But then she had explained that this media company, which she didn't name or anything like that, so we don't know in terms what type of media company it was that purchased this video, but she had explained that they didn't end up releasing this video. And she said even after he being Cabral, had extorted her, she never saw him again. And so this was March of 2024, where she was explaining that she had never saw Cabral again even after this incident. The two had never spoken since then. And so it was kind of interesting, because I remember even just around that time, there was a lot of rumors swirling around that people have videotapes and Diddy and these freak-offs. But according to Jane's testimony, she said that a media company did buy it. But again, we don't know this media company. We don't know who they are, if they were actually going to plan on releasing it. But she was explaining again that she and Cabral never spoke after this particular alleged extortion.
Yeah, I wonder how that fits into the overall charges. Maybe to say, you know, there was a lack of consent. There was a lack of her wanting to have these videos or even these videos released. It wasn't so much on Combs as it was on allegedly on somebody else. So it's interesting, you know, they testify about that. I have to say, I think the finances are really interesting. So the idea, right, Sean Combs controls someone's appearance, controls their careers, controls their livelihood. And there was testimony earlier where she talked about how she wanted to do OnlyFans and he discouraged it. The way that I was reading it, it came up again about her earning her own money. Talk to us about this and whether or not this was during a break in the relationship.
Y'all, please get the likes up.
The
Support the
if she's earning
platform.
money on her own, that goes to the idea of this is what she could have been doing, but Sean Combs was controlling it. He was controlling her life. He was controlling her finances to get her to do what he wanted. Did she talk about earning her own money?
She did talk about earning her own money. So this was during an off period that the two had. So this was specifically around January of 2024, where Jane said that her finances actually started to pick back up after she created that OnlyFans. And so she was saying that she just wanted to be independent again, and this is why she had created the OnlyFans page, and that Jane said that she also got child support to help with her finances, but that another man too, this man named Bear, sent her money, and that money was $9,000, so just shy of that extra $1,000 to pay for her rent. But the kind of exchange for it was that Jane would pose for Bear's brand, and that she never actually saw this man in person, but that they only communicated through text. And so it seemed like, as far as Jane was concerned, that her finances were picking up. So Jane was explaining by the time that she and Diddy got back together, which was shortly after her birthday of 2024, that Diddy came to LA, she went to Miami, that things started to seem like they were getting back on track. But then Diddy went through Jane's phone and saw these messages from this man named Bear. And so then we hear about this text exhibit from March 7th of 2024 when the two were already back together at this point, where Diddy said, what's going to happen when I come over? Jane said, well, should I get the house ready for us? And Jane thought that Diddy wanted her to have entertainers over. Diddy told Jane that his mom was coming into town this weekend, and Jane thought that he was just using this as an excuse to see other women. Then Diddy was kind of threatening to cut her off a little bit, where Diddy had asked Jane to sign something so that the two could move on, because he told her that, well, she's making her own money and that they hope to have a clean break. And so Jane was saying that she had testified that she told Diddy that she was paying off her debt, that she was unemployed. She said she was penny pinching. She took on credit card loans. She said that all she asked from Diddy was 3 months, and that she told him, you aren't having your way and you bring up my rent. I'm tired of it. You can't even make these 2 years. And those were the 2 years that the two had promised each other under the love contract, where he would essentially pay her rent for a 2-year period. And so Jane was saying, did you tell Robin to cut me off? She texted me that my lease is up in April of 2024. And then it seemed like from Diddy's point of view that he was really upset about this Bear interaction, but other interactions too that Jane had had with other men when she and Diddy were no longer together. But it seemed like from Jane's perspective, even though she was making money on OnlyFans, even though her finances were slowly picking back up, she seems like she still kind of wasn't pulling strings, even as far as kind of making the rent on her own, where she was still asking for money from Diddy.
Okay, y'all, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Oh, no, I may have to be back a little later about something else, but regarding Diddy, I will see y'all tomorrow.
You know, some of the
It's
ways
a
that
lot.
she vocalized or maybe didn't vocalize
Make sure you have your notification. I'm probably going to come back early in the morning because I got to
I wonder if things changed when she started
mention
talking about violence.
or bring to y'all what I didn't get to bring tonight. All around the world, it's a lot going on.
These acts, and she still did that.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back in the next hour about a YouTuber that got killed in Vegas.
This was something
So I'll be back, y'all.
by the prosecution in the opening statement.